we make you laugh? Aren't we fucking funny?
Does that sound fine?
What's the boogeyman?
Matt, Hup's chloroform. Hot two.
What the fuck?
Welcome back to the Moonjuice Metal Horror Podcast, the podcast where we breathe chloroform, apparently. Chloroform is what we breathe, Mike, because I was definitely fucking sleeping on that one.
Horror what? Horror porn?
Chloroform. We breathe chloroform. Ah, fuck. Okay, take two. Holy shit. Welcome back to the Moonjuice Metal Horror Podcast, the podcast where we live and breathe heavy metal and horror, but are not afraid to shit on both of them. Okay, I got it. That's
Yeah, finally.
It wasn't that bad. That one wasn't that bad. It could have been worse. But I got it.
It was good.
By this time, you guys have already seen the 28 years later episode, and It Chapter 2 is finally done. We released that one after the 28 years later, which was kind of our spoilerific episode. Do yourself a favor and go back and check those two out, because they're really fucking good. If I do say so myself. Pretty funny stuff.
Yeah.
This time we are doing a movie that we strategically decided to place at this exact time because the new James Gunn Superman movie comes out this week.
Yep.
So, in honor of that, we decided to do another James Gunn superhero movie. And what movie are we doing, Mike?
Yeah, we're doing Brightburn. If Superman becomes a psychotic serial killer instead. By the time this video comes out, we probably have already seen the new Superman movie. Me and Matt both are are extreme Superman nerds, so of course we're going to see the new Superman.
Yeah, but it's only fitting to do this one now, you know?
Exactly. If we could, I mean, the thing is, this is the Metal and Horror Podcast. I mean, if we could, I think we would definitely probably do a movie about Superman, but we can't. But thanks to James Gunn, there exists a horror version of Superman.
Yeah. What's funny is I think a lot of people say that. They're like, oh, well, you know, yeah, this is kind of what would happen if Superman was evil instead of good. But no, that is exactly what it is. And James Gunn even said so. I wanted to do a movie where it was exactly what would happen if Superman was evil instead of good. In fact, it's so much the same story that it even happens in the exact same fucking place, which is cool. This happens in Kansas, the same place where Superman was found.
Exactly.
Yeah, exact same state, exact same situation, everything. The only difference here, I mean, there's not that much of a big difference in the characters either. I don't think I noticed it last time I watched this movie, but knowing what I know about Superman and going into this movie the first time, keep in mind I saw this when it came out. So I didn't really know what to expect. But now that I'm watching it again for the podcast, I realized that the characters themselves, the father and the mother, are almost identical to Superman's parents in terms of personality. Like, they're almost exactly the same.
All of the majority of these characters, you know, resemble the characters from Superman, what they're supposed to, because it's a horror version of Superman's origin story. But the thing is, for his parents are extremely flawed. No, in my opinion, more Jonathan Kent in this movie than Martha Kent, because the worst thing you can say about Martha Kent is she just ignores a lot of fucking red flags. But I mean, you can also understand why she's ignoring it. I mean, it's her kid. And also, there's a scene, you probably know what I'm talking about, is when Jonathan Kent tries to kill Clark by shooting him in the head with a hunting rifle. And in the original Superman universe, there's no way Jonathan Kent would have done this. I mean, even if he was this, even if he was this,
I don't know, man. I don't know. So comic book wise, maybe not, right?
Yeah.
I mean, how many times have they done the retelling of Superman in comic books to where things change?
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah,
his father was an extremely moral person, right?
Of course,
extremely. Yeah. Jonathan Kent was very moral. He was a good person, hard worker. This little fucker wastes no time becoming evil and annoying as fuck. And I don't even think Jonathan Kent would have put up with this shit, man.
Yeah, well, I mean, he wouldn't have put up with it. I don't think so. But I don't think that Jonathan Kent would have tried to kill him. You know, I'm not sure what I can get into when we get into that scene. Just like you said, this was specifically made just with kind of what if scenario. What if Superman was evil?
Yeah. And so that's exactly what we get. If you're familiar with the Superman story, I'm going to go ahead and pretend like everyone here is. And if you're not, poor you, because it's a great story and it's classic American comic book. Like you kind of would need to be familiar with the original story and origin story of Superman to get this. And I think this movie without that can still be a good watch, but it's nowhere near on the level of powerful without understanding that story. So Superman himself was a being for good. He was born with this natural inclination to want to help people. He just was. And that seems like... I would assume so, right? I mean, if you... No? Why don't you think so?
No. Kryptonians are basically, when it comes to character, not much different from humans. They can be good and they can be evil. What can be seen in multiple Kryptonians throughout the entire since Superman was existed. What specifically, of course, what made Superman good was for the main part his upbringing. Because he was, I don't know, there was probably some Kryptonian brainwave, shit going on, but the majority of the time, Superman became the person he was because of his upbringing, because of his parents, because he had these very well-loving parents that were extreme, highly moral people and taught him to do that. No? And always taught him to learn to control his powers and not use his powers for evil. And also told him the entire time, throughout his life, that he was special and that they believed that he was meant to do great things. And it was all of that, Superman's upbringing, that led him to be that way. And when you go into the Superman comics, to multiple different Superman stories, there is also canon explanations for that. No? I mean, Jor-El, Superman's father, his biological father, was also a very high moral person. And there are multiple iterations of Superman's origin story, Clark Kent or Kal-El, didn't arrive accidentally in Smallville, Kansas on that farm. He was specifically sent there because Jor-El or Jor-El's father were at Earth at one point. Multiple Kryptonians have visited Earth over the millennia. But at one point, Jor-El or Jor-El's father was on Earth and in Smallville. Just checking out the Earthlings, more or less. And he came across one of Jonathan Kent's ancestors and got along with him really well. Hey, this is a totally cool dude, high morally person, or whatever. And when Krypton was destroyed, the coordinates Jor-El gave in was specifically to the Kent farm, near that, hoping that the Kents would find Kal-El.
Okay.
There are stories of that as well.
And that's canon.
Yeah? Yes, it's canon. That is literally the origin story of Smallville, for example.
Okay.
Yeah?
I didn't know. I figured... I know that there was a... I mean, we can get into this, but there was a war between factions on Krypton. That's what led to everything. But there are times in the past where you'd seen Jor-El and kind of witnessed the kind of person he was, and he was, like you said, a very moral person. So naturally, genetically, this kid should be predisposed to be that way, right? You would assume so.
To a certain degree. I mean, this is a thing where you can get into the discussion how much biology and
nature versus nurture, right.
Social circle, because it's always kind of a half thing, Somebody that is, biologically, you could say wired to be evil, if they have a good upbringing and loving parents, can turn out to be a good person, and vice versa.
Yeah.
So it's kind of...
Right.
Yeah, you might be right about that one. No, but...
The only reason I think that's important to this story, Mike, is because this kid is hardwired to be a sociopath. He is hardwired from day one to be a sociopath.
Not necessarily. Not necessarily. No? But I have something to say that, but I think... Huh? I have something to say that, but I think I can bring it up when we get into it. No?
Okay.
Yeah, but for that, I'm going to go into other similar stories that are not even Superman. Of other kind of superhero-ish stories, no? That have similar situations with beings that are like similar to the Krypton.
Okay. All right. In that case, we'll get into the movie and roll into that later. So, as I stated already, this story is the origin story of Superman. The only thing that has been changed, really, is the names of the characters and then certain things that happen along the way, right? That make it the story that it is. And so what you get is this couple. We're going to go ahead and call them Jonathan and Martha, just because I think that's hilarious. Okay? So, Jonathan and Martha, right? So, yeah. So they are on, you kind of get this opening scene of this farm, and it's obviously somewhere in the Midwest. We find out later it is Kansas, but it's somewhere in the Midwest. They have grain silos. They have a full farm with cows and chickens. It's obvious that this couple live off the land and that they are farmers, right?
Yeah.
First scene we get is this couple in bed. It opens up in their bedroom, and they're hanging out together and they're being romantic. On the bookshelf, right as you're kind of heading into the bedroom area, it shows a book that's about fertility, right? There's a fertility book sitting there, and that kind of gives you a hint that this couple might be having fertility issues, right? Maybe problems having children, whatever.
Yeah.
They're in bed together. They're about to have sex, and all of a sudden, Martha hears a sound, and the lights kind of flicker in the house a little bit. So she stops, and she's like, what was that? And then there's dead silence. She gets up out of the bed, walks across the room, kind of listens, doesn't hear anything, and then there's this loud bang, like a crash, like the sound of, to phrase like one of the Pee Wee movies,
meteor
like
hitting.
a garbage truck falling off the Empire State Building, right? So basically a meteor crash. It cuts out all the lights, and then you get this view of what you get in the Superman movies, which is a crater that's out in the field that is on fire and smoking like something crashed there, right? Cut scene, that's all you get. The next scene you get is a montage of baby videos, right, that are being filmed by the couple, right? And it's this cute little kid, probably it starts with him just learning to walk and then kind of shows him getting older and older, and it's just family videos of this kid.
Yeah.
There's no indication of anything like this is the kid that crashed outside or anything like that. That's not mentioned. All you see is the video of the kid. And you see the kid growing up and getting a little bit older. And it's obvious that the parents, I'm not going to say worship the ground this kid walks on, but they're very, very good parents and they're very happy to have him. Like, the videos that you see are them just completely joyful that they have this little baby and he's got toys and they're playing with him and they're talking to him and obviously just enthralled with this kid, right?
Yeah.
So the next scene we get, this is 10 years later, and we know that because it says it on the bottom of the screen. 10 years later, his mom wakes up in the morning. I actually like his mom. She's wearing a Ramones t-shirt, and her hair is a little bit punkish.
Yeah.
So she's obviously kind of an old school punk rocker chick, which is cool.
Yeah.
She goes into, should we call this kid Kal-El, or do we want to call him his real name?
Let's what do we call him, Kal-El, or are we going to call him Clark?
Fuck it, let's call him Clark. Let's call him Clark.
Let's call him Clark,
Yeah, so this is not the kid's actual name, but we're doing this just for fun because this is.
I mean, it's obvious who we're talking about.
So
I mean,
she walks.
but we haven't got into the cast.
Yeah. Oh yeah, go ahead. So this is interesting. Go ahead and do that, and then I'll talk about the rest of the movie.
I don't know. Have we talked about James Gunn already?
No, we haven't. So just for anybody who doesn't know this, me and Mike spend quite a little bit of time before we start recording talking shit about the movie and talking about whatever. So we talked a lot about James Gunn. But yeah, go ahead and get back into it. I'll just act like I'm interested.
Okay. Yeah, because what's actually fucking funny about this is that the movie is produced by James Gunn. From all people, the guy that made the new Superman movie. But it was only produced by him. Actually, the story was written by his brother and his cousin, Brian Gunn and Mark Gunn. And for whatever reason, I'm not really sure why, it was directed by a guy that has not really done much movies. David Yarovesky. No? I probably mispronounced that, but okay. However, I mean, when it comes to the cast, you have Elizabeth.
Right.
Yeah, you have Elizabeth Banks playing Jonathan Kent. Nate, what? Yeah, Elizabeth. Yeah, that's right. Elizabeth Banks is playing Jonathan. Elizabeth Banks is playing Martha Kent.
They had a woman playing Clark Kent's father in this movie.
Yeah,
it's really interesting.
David Denman is playing Jonathan Kent.
Yeah.
Jackson A. Dunn is playing Clark Kent, Kal-El. Then Emmy Hunter playing Kathleen, whoever that is. Matt Lee Jones playing Noah whatever. No. Then Meredith Hagner playing Marilee McNichol. Becky Wallstrom, playing Erica. Gregory Allen Williams playing Sheriff Deaver. Steve H., whoever the fuck EJ is. And Jennifer Holland playing Miss Eppensheet. I'm just going to pronounce it now in German, even though it's probably the wrong one. But
I was going to say, I love it when a name is actually American, but it's a German name. You pronounce it like a German name. That's great.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
So the mother, this actress, I love her, dude.
She's cool.
Her. She's cool as fuck.
Yeah.
She is not a stranger to James Gunn's stuff, right? So she was in Slither before this, and I don't know if you saw that, but
yes, I saw it. Yeah,
that was James Gunn's love letter to the Evil Dead. So James Gunn is a huge Evil Dead fan, and when he made Slither, he wanted to make a horror movie that was in the vein of Evil Dead. So it was extremely gory and extremely graphic, but also a comedy horror. It was great, and she was the main female character in that movie. Did a great job. If you haven't seen Slither, go back and watch Slither. I actually think we need to do that one for the podcast. Because
we can do it. Yeah, of course. Elizabeth. I mean, you know how many movies Elizabeth Banks has been in?
Oh, she's been in a shit ton, but that's the one I remember her in.
Yeah.
Because that one was great. So we've got a good cast. The director, like you said, this is his first movie. But what a way to go with your first movie, because this one's fucking great, dude.
He did a great job with it. He did a great job with it, by the way.
Yeah, this movie is excellent. And I'm actually a little shocked that it did not get better praise than it got. And I always have to wonder if I like the subject matter of a movie, and I like the movie a lot just because I like the subject matter, do I think it's better than it actually is? I don't think so, dude, because anybody who's seen this, that's a horror fan or just a fan of this type of movie in general, loved this movie. But yet it's got like a 58% on Rotten Tomatoes, and I cannot figure that out.
Yeah. Okay, sorry. I don't give a shit about Rotten Tomatoes scores because they don't say anything. They don't say fucking shit. No? Because even, how should I say it? The user, the only thing that means a certain thing to me is the user scores, no? And they, by the way, for Brightburn are very good. It's just the critic scores that are bad. And... and that's the thing. I mean, even if I look at things, the user scores has more meaning for me, no? But even that, you can't take it face value because a lot of it is going being bots. But also the critic scores. Yeah. It's also a bunch of bots, and even the ones that are written by actual journalists. I mean, if all you have to do is go onto a journalist website or whatever. And see what kind of reviews they've given, and even before a movie comes out, you can probably already say what score they're going to give it, and what they're going to say about it. I mean, just like I've already read reviews now about the new Superman movie. Haven't seen. Also, by the time we record this, I haven't seen it yet. But specifically. The typical reviewers that give every movie that how should I say it? I'm trying to word it right. Not so what I say can be misinterpreted. The typical journalists that give video games, movies, and series, perfect scores, even though everybody that watches the show thinks this movie is bad. What does that tell us?
Yeah. It's
So,
politics, man. It's
yeah,
politics.
yeah.
It's like
But
everything.
even though what actually matters is how much money the movie has made and the user scores. No? But user scores can just as easily be faked, so no, don't really know what. But the thing is, this movie was actually a major financial success. No? And people wanted a sequel. No? And James Gunn even said he would like to make a sequel. He really would. But there's some kind of things going on between the company that they originally made it and so for that reason they can't make a sequel of Brightburn. And if that legal thing wasn't going on, a sequel would have already been made. No? And I guarantee you, when this movie came out, I remember exactly that even DC was pissed off about it. No? There was some conflict.
I know why.
No? I mean, it's obviously why. It's Superman. This is Superman origin story, no? And I remember I read multiple articles that there was a conflict between James Gunn and DC. I'm not sure if it was James Gunn or just the studio that financed the movie. Not entirely sure, but there was a certain conflict. No? However, the conflict kind of just died down after a few weeks. Nobody talked about it, no? And it was just entirely forgotten. Nobody can tell me nobody can tell me it's a fucking coincidence that James Gunn is now the boss of DC movies.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. You're right. There's definitely some behind the scene politics going on there. I would like to think, like, in my perfect world, they saw this movie and were probably pissed off because it was such a good take on Superman. And it was so well done. This movie is incredibly well done. Like, there's a lot of reasons for that, and I can get into them later, but one of the main things that stands out the most here is that it's rare with a movie, and especially a horror movie, that things go as fast as they do and stay as interesting as they do, right? Because there's different types of horror movies. A lot of horror movies will drag, right? That is a big problem with horror films. They drag and drag and drag, and they don't typically keep it interesting because they're trying to explain away the characters to you. They're trying to get you to like the characters enough to where when they kill them off, you feel some kind of way about it, right? The other problem with other horror movies is they start fast and furious. There's lots of blood, lots of gore, action-packed, but there's no character development, right? And so those are two types of horror movies. This one does character development on the way very fucking well. The character development here is outstanding. Mm-hmm. Like, you care about these characters. You can tell what inner struggles they're having. You can tell what the characters are thinking when something happens. And you can see where they're flawed, where you can also tell that in real life this person might not be able to tell that they're flawed. Like, there's a whole psychological thing going on with this film that he does a really good job of. At the same time that's happening, action is happening the entire time. You are interested. You are invested in this film from start to finish. I remember when I watched it, I was like, holy shit, what's going to happen next? Holy shit, what's going to happen next? Because it is that good. And I would like to think DC saw this and were probably pissed off because he did a better job of Superman than they had done at the time.
Yeah, it was a fucking horror movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I mean, if I was in charge, if I was up there with DC and I saw this, I'd be like, we got to give this guy a fucking superhero movie, man. Holy shit, you know? Because it is that good, you know? And we'll get into why, but so we went through cast and crew and everything. We kind of got introduced to the family, right? So you got the wife and the husband. As I said, the mom has been looking for her kid. She wakes up in the morning. Normally he's in his bed. He's not in his bed. So she's calling his name, going through the house. She goes down the stairs. As she's going down the stairs, you see pictures of the kid and them together as a family. Again, so they're reinforcing the fact that this family's very close-knit. They're very happy to have this kid. At this point, it's kind of obvious where the kid came from, but if you don't know what's going on, you're thinking, oh, you know, they probably had a kid, whatever. and they're happy to have him because they couldn't have kids. There were fertility issues, right? So she's going down the stairs. She walks downstairs and calls his name. He's not answering. She goes outside and she starts walking towards the barn, which the barn is going to become an area of contention later, and we'll find out why. But this is kind of foreshadowing. So she goes to the barn. She starts to notice when she calls his name and she thinks he might be at the barn, she looks a little distressed, right? We'll find out why later. Turns out the kid was in the barn, and he jumps out at her to scare her. He's like, ah! You get kind of a jump scare early in the movie, and it's just the kid jumping out at the mom. She's like, ha ha, you got me, ha ha, what are you doing out here in the barn? He's like, oh, I don't know, I was just messing around, whatever. She's like, okay. A little worried he was in the barn. We'll find out why later. She walks him outside. His dad's there. The dad is probably about as close to Jonathan Kent as you can get, right? Just a really nice guy, friendly guy, good father. Like, he cares about the kid. There's obviously a relationship between him and his kids that's very close and good. He comes out and puts his arm around his wife, and all three of them walk back to the house, right? So nothing odd going on here at all. Like, perfect picture of a family, happy to be around one another, just good energy all the way around. Next scene we get is Clark in school. So he's 10 years old, so I would assume probably around like 4th grade. 12. Huh? 12? Okay, so 5th grade then. So 5th grade class, his teacher is in front of the class, and she's showing a video about bees, like normal bees in a beehive. Yeah. She turns it off, and she asks the class, hey, what can you tell me is the difference between a wasp and a bee? And this is cool that they snuck this in, because it's kind of telling about the characterization. None of the kids in the class have an answer. They look pretty bored, just like a typical 5th grade class full of kids would be. They're extremely bored. Clark is the only one that puts up his hand. No, he doesn't put up his hand. He's busy drawing in his drawing tablet, right? He's busy drawing what looks like... Interesting thing, he's drawing a symbol, and the symbol is the Brightburn symbol, but it's one from his own head. And it's a line, and it's got a B on one side and a B on the other for Brightburn. The B's reversed. Yeah. What's interesting about that symbol, Mike, is it is a take on a Nordic protection rune that is the symbol for protection of whatever that it's on, which is interesting. A lot of people didn't catch that. But if you took one line out of that symbol that he's drawing, it would be the Nordic protection rune, which is kind of what the S stood for Superman. It's kind of like a protection symbol, right? It's not actually an S, it's hope. A symbol. And that's exactly what this symbol is too. And I caught that immediately.
You're wrong.
No, okay, what?
Superman's symbol was entirely different. The Superman symbol meant hope.
Right. Well, whatever.
It was... Yeah.
Whatever. It was a symbol that meant something good and positive, right? And that's actually what this symbol is. You remove one line from this, and it's the Nordic protection rune. And so she realizes that nobody in the class wants to answer her question, so she calls on Clark. She's like, Clark, tell us what the difference between a wasp and a bee is. And this kid doesn't just answer the question out of nowhere. He starts going on and on and on about all the scientific differences between bees and wasps. So it gives you the idea that he's actually brilliant. He's extremely smart. He's advanced. He soaks up. Yeah, go ahead.
There's one thing I wanted to bring at this point, because there is something that he says specifically when he's explaining the difference between bees and wasps. He brings up that there are some kind of wasp species that force other species to raise their young by sneaking their eggs in with them. No? Sorry, I didn't know you wanted to bring it up, man.
Right. No. That's okay. I talk too much anyway, so it's good. Yeah. So, and that's a hint, and I think that's really easy to miss if you don't pay attention to it, because that's exactly what his species did. They sent him to Earth to be raised by other families until he was old enough to become basically an insurgent by them, right? And so he's basically saying that he's a wasp and everyone else is a bee, right? It's kind of like the whole I'm actually a wolf and everyone else is a sheep kind of thing. But he doesn't know that yet himself, but it is foreshadowing. And so he says that in the class, and he continues on about what bees do and what wasps do, and it's very scientific, and his teacher basically has to stop him. She's like, okay, that's That's good. We don't need any more information. Kid in the back of the classroom is like, oh, you must be a wasp. You know so much about him. Typical kids picking on other kids, right? His Clark's reaction to this is not violent. It's not mean. It's not anything. He just kind of looks away and looks back in his book, right? So we get a few things with this scene. We figure out that because he is different and he's highly intelligent, which is usually what happens with kids at this age, they get picked on by everybody else for being a nerd or a brown noser or whatever the hell you want to call it.
Yeah.
He doesn't lash back violently or anything like that. Like I said, he looks into his book. Next scene we get is back at the house, and I'm supposing this is the exact same night. The mom kind of looks in the room, his bedroom, to see if he's sleeping, notices he's asleep. Okay, that's good. She walks away from his bedroom and goes back to painting because her job during the day is to paint. She's an artist. That's how she makes her money. And she's just kind of sitting there painting. And we start to hear some weird fucking sounds, right? So these sounds, how would you describe these sounds, Mike? I got my own opinion about what these sounds are. What does it sound like to you?
ASMR if they were created by Skynet.
Okay. I like it. Okay. Yeah. It's subliminal voices that are indiscernible from human speech. Like you can't really say they're saying anything. It's just very dark voices, and it's almost like a chorus of dark voices all together, and it's extremely creepy.
Yeah,
and really well done.
Yeah.
What were you gonna say?
I mean, it's obvious. It just sounds like an alien language, so it's basically like some Kryptonian shit going on here,
right?
You know, because you have similar noises like this in a lot of Superman stories,
but they're not quite this dark. That's the difference.
Yes.
This is dark. Yeah. This is some shit you would hear going on in the background of a like a horror game or something that you were playing that took place in hell. This is like really creepy, weird voices. Once that starts, we kind of get led out to the barn to where they're coming from, and they're coming from a hatch that's in the barn that's closed. And underneath this hatch, there's red light, and the red light is kind of beaming out through the cracks, right? And the voices get louder and louder. Cut back to Clark's room. Clark's in bed. He starts to stir a little bit, and then he starts to convulse, right? So these voices are doing this to him. So he's convulsing in bed and kind of looks like he's having a seizure, and then goes as stiff as a board, gets up out of his bed, walks to the window, and jumps out the window, right? So you kind of get the feeling like he's being controlled by the voices, which is exactly what's happening. His mom hears something. She hears him jump out of the window. She doesn't know what the sound is, but she hears it. Runs to his bedroom to see if he's still there. He's not there, obviously. So she goes outside and looks around, doesn't see him, starts calling his name, no answer back. So where's the first place she head? She heads straight to the fucking barn, right? So she's going to the barn. She's walking out there, and once she gets there, she looks towards the back of the barn, and Clark is on his hands and knees trying to pry open this hatch that's in the barn. The same place that these voices are coming from, right?
Also rambling something in that language, though. Yeah.
You get the feeling he's kind of repeating what the voices are saying, even though I don't think at this point, at this point he doesn't know what the voices are saying. Like he's repeating whatever it was saying to him over and over in his head. Has no idea what it means, but he knows somehow he wants to open the hatch. So he's in a trance, and he's out there trying to pull up the hatch. She notices it. She runs out there to him, puts her hand on his back, says his name a few times, and he kind of comes out of it, right? He snaps out of it, and he's like, oh, what in the hell? What am I doing here? He kind of jumps up really quick, and it startles the mom, so you kind of get another jump scare. That's right. This movie's really fucking big on jump scares, dude. Like, they use the jump scare more than anything to the point that when I was watching this with Chrissy, she's like, I don't know if I can handle another jump scare, because they just do it over and over and over again with the damn jump scare. So anyway, he comes out of his trance. He doesn't know where he is or why he's out at the barn, anything like that. She says, what happened? He says, I don't know. I was having some type of dream, and I was hearing some kind of voice. I don't know. She's like, okay, well, let's go back inside. So she takes him back inside, puts him in his bed. rubs his head a little bit. I think she's singing some type of nursery rhyme to him. I can't remember exactly what it was. Do you remember what it was she's singing to him?
No, I don't remember. Some nursery song, but this is just she puts him back to bed. No, but it's clearly that like this is the situation that's gonna cause everything to go down.
Yeah.
No. And because you hear like his voice or whatever, and this is where we specifically can say that he has been hardwired, no, to become evil, no, by his species. Because this thing specifically, I'm not sure if they took it directly from it, but this thing specifically is what happens in Dragon Ball Z. No, basically what the Saiyans do. The Saiyans are Dragon Ball's version of the Kryptonians, just that they have no weaknesses. No? And the Saiyans were an extremely evil empire race that tested the power levels of their children, and the weaker children were sent out to other planets on in space shuttles. No? Once they were landed on that planets, they were by some mind control thing that's being done to them in the ship, no? To conquer those planets by all means necessary.
Okay.
No? And so this specific thing with this ship happening is something that happens the exact same way in Dragon Ball. No?
Okay.
The issue was in Dragon Ball Son Goku, that is a Saiyan, no? When he was an infant, no?
Yeah.
He had an extreme accident that caused severe brain damage. That brain damage that was caused through his accident somehow wiped that entire genetic programming out.
Okay.
While Son Goku was one of the only Saiyans that grew up to be a normal person instead of insanely fucking evil.
Okay. That's cool, dude. I didn't realize that. But wait, did that not happen in another DC story as well, though? Isn't there another story where another being, maybe not from Krypton, but from another planet, was sent to Earth to do this exact thing?
Well, canon in the DC multiverse is Earth 3, no? And this is something that has been theorized about Brightburn, no? That in Earth 3 is an alternate universe in DC where everything is flipped. All of the known superheroes are villains, and all of the villains are superheroes. For example, in DC Earth 3, the Justice League founders are Lex Luthor and the Joker. And Superman in this universe is known as Ultraman, is a sociopathical serial killer and leader of the biggest mafia that was ever created, called the Crime Syndicate.
Okay.
And in this universe, actually, it's also Kryptonians, no? Just as kind of different. In this universe, Kryptonians are not weakened by Kryptonite. It makes them stronger, no? And Kal-El is sent to Earth, no? Lands on the farm of Jonathan and Martha Kent. But when he's around the time when Kal-El's powers manifest, he slaughters the Kents and then goes on to live a life of crime.
Okay.
So that is why.
So people that were into that and understood the story of that thought that this movie was that. Am I correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
There are multiple fan theories going out that this is Earth 3 of the DC multiverse, and that this is Ultraman.
Okay. So if we ever get a sequel to this, it'll be interesting if that's what they do with it, right? But I don't think that this character has the same name as that character in that particular story.
No.
Yeah,
In the
so
comics,
maybe
maybe not, because in the comics it was also Kal-El.
Yeah. Okay. So
But
probably not. But I mean, yeah. Okay. It's cool. For a lot of reasons. I think this movie in particular, we got to see all these scenes when we were kids. I think I've seen, at least when I was a young kid, I saw Superman 1 and 2 ad nauseum every day.
Me too.
Every fucking day, dude. Like, this was my kid movie, man. Part 1 and Part 2.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think Part 2 was with Zod, right? And the other two that came down with him, yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Anyway, I digress. So, evil Superman, right? Next scene we get, he walks outside with his dad, and his dad is working on something on like a wood horse, like he's working on wood. And they have a discussion, and he's like, when you were a kid, you were screaming and crying, and for whatever reason, I would give you this piece of candy. So he pulls a piece of candy out of the top of his pocket and gives it to him, and he's like, that's the secret weapon for you when you were a screaming, crying kid, and I was the only one that had it and knew how to use it. So every time I gave you this candy, you would calm down, and that formed a special relationship between me and you, right? So, and I think this scene is only there just to show how close he is to his father. Like, they have a really good relationship. And at this point, his father also says, we adopted you, right? So this is the part where we get the story that they're telling him instead of what really happened. He's telling his son, we adopted you. When we got you, you would scream and cry, and I used to give you this candy. So the scene serves for two things. One, to find out that they're telling him that they adopted him. Two, that the relationship between him and his father is very close, right? So he asks his dad, hey, is there anything that I can do to help out here? Since you're working on this. He's like, well, you can mow the pen. You can go get the lawnmower and mow the pen. And he's like, oh, okay. So he leaves his dad outside working, and he goes around the back of the barn, and there's a lawnmower sitting there, right? He goes over to crank the lawnmower. He pulls the cord. It sputters. Can't get it to start. He pulls the cord again, and it stutters. Nothing happens. You can tell the kid's getting frustrated by not being able to get the lawnmower working. And all I wanted to say the whole time was, dude, choke. You've got to choke for a reason. Hit the choke, and it'll work. But he doesn't know that. Anyway, so he keeps trying to get the lawnmower to start. Yeah, and gets fed up and yanks it one last time. And when he yanks it the last time, he throws the lawnmower about 600 meters behind him through the air. He pulls the cord, and the lawnmower goes flying, right? And it's like up there. It's like this huge arch into the backfield and lands. And it lands on the top where the blades are sticking up and the blades are spinning. And so this is probably the first time that this has happened to this kid, to where he sees what type of strength he's capable of. And I think it's because it comes with puberty, is what I'm assuming, which is the same thing that happened with... No, Superman had his powers early. He didn't get them with puberty.
It depends. That's different from story to story. In whatever Superman story, his powers manifest in different ages. Okay. No? Like, his strength... I mean, in his strength started to develop when he was 4 years old. Right. No? His speed started to come when he was like around, 7 or 8. Then other power... Up until his puberty, his powers manifested slowly one by one. And he didn't fly in the comics in the original one until he was like 18. Was the first time he flew. No? Okay. When he came to the Fortress of Solitude. That was the first time he learned to fly. No? Okay. But the thing is, how Superman's powers manifest is widely different from iteration to iteration. Yeah. So...
With this one, I at first kind of thought it was because he's about to hit puberty and that's why they're coming. But the truth is they're coming because of the spacecraft that he came in that's underneath the ground in the in the barn. Like, it's talking to him, and that thing starting to talk to him is what brings about his powers to start, is what I'm assuming. Anyway. He throws the lawnmower, like I said, he throws the lawnmower like 500 meters in the opposite direction, and then goes to retrieve it. And when he goes to retrieve it, the blades are spinning because the lawnmower started. Caused this kid to do this? I don't know, but he's got a morbid curiosity of some kind. He looks at the blades spinning, and he looks at his hand, and looks at the blade spinning, and then slowly puts his hands into the blade, right?
Yeah, but you also have to mention, while this is happening, he hears the Skynet ASMR.
Ah, right. Okay, so we get the voices again, right? And because he's hearing the voices and he's got kind of a normal morbid curiosity, he sticks his hands into lawnmower blades, right? Boom. When he does that, there's a crack and a pop. You're only seeing his face, and he doesn't make a grimace or like a look like he got hurt or anything like that. And then you see his hand in the lawnmower, and the blades have stopped on his hand and completely bent around his wrist, like his hand stopped the blades. So you figure out at this point that this kid, you're not going to hurt this kid. Like, he is basically Superman. He's indestructible, right? And that's your first clue that some weird shit's going on, besides the ship talking to him from the barn. Like, this little fucker, dude. I'm sorry, Mike. These parents have to know that something is up at this point. They have to know something is up. But they don't act like
But
they
at this
do.
point, no. But the thing is, at this point, no, they don't know that he's manifesting any superpowers.
Right. Yeah,
But
I
the
get
thing
that,
that was going
but
off,
the
what they should have noticed
getting up
is
in
the
the middle of
thing.
the night and being drawn out to where the ship is a little bit unnerving, right?
Yes, that specifically they should have noticed because the mother did notice, but she didn't tell the father for some reason.
Yeah.
No, what kind of like is the thing? It's kind of like just like you said, these parents should have known that he's not a normal kid.
Right.
They found him in a fucking spaceship.
Yeah.
I mean,
And as with the story of Superman, I have to wonder why they got to keep this kid too. Like this kind of, it's always bothered me with Superman, right? That they found him out in a spaceship in their field that had crash landed, and somehow this couple was able to keep that a secret and just say they had a little boy, even though the woman wasn't pregnant, right?
no, because they always adopted it. How I pointed out, the ship was always Jonathan Kent hid the ship. No, in the basement or somewhere else or whatever. And in some iterations of the Superman story, the ship was found by the government, but never the child. But was always in common is that somehow through faking papers, they managed to adopt Clark Kent. Okay. No? So basically, the Kents even themselves told everybody that they adopted Clark. They never said like, oh, we have a kid all of a sudden. They were like, oh no, we adopted him. But how that came to be is different. How it's explained from story to story.
Okay.
Because but in the most cases, Jonathan and Martha Kent. Yeah. What?
Yeah. And what I was going to say is, in most cases in the U.S., if you brought this kid to the local police department and said, hey, we found this kid, on our doorstep or whatever, but we'd like to adopt him, the kid would still go to an adoption agency, and then later they might get the kid. Maybe. Not a likely story, but we don't know how any of that happened.
But that's not how it happened. They just took him and they faked the entire adoption papers. No? And they just told everybody we adopted him. Let's be honest. In the States, you could easily pull something like that off. No? And just like, for example, in Smallville, for example, no? There, it's very specifically explained how it happened. It was actually the Luthors, Lex Luthor's father, no, that helped them. He pulled his connections and his money to basically create a agency that kind of let Martha and Jonathan Kent adopt them because somehow Lex Luthor at the time was in Smallville and had an accident, and Jonathan Kent helped Lex Luthor as a child.
Okay.
And so to be graceful, Lionel Luthor, Lex Luthor's father, pulled all those strings so they could adopt Clark.
Okay. That's interesting. So I just felt like this part of the movie went too fast for me. I was like, how'd they get this kid? But it really doesn't matter. It has no bearing to the rest of the story.
Yeah.
But, okay. So, next scene we get, it's Clark's birthday, right? And so they take Clark to a local restaurant and they meet up with his aunt and his uncle who are there, who both seem to be also very nice, kind people. They're sitting at the table and they're having dinner. They say happy birthday. His uncle brings out a big package for him. He says, hey, happy birthday. You're 12 years old. It's about time for your first rifle, right? Which I can imagine Europeans watching this and being like, I call bullshit. You don't give a 12-year-old a rifle? That's insane. No, this actually happens. Like, this is a very normal thing for people that live on farms, that once you hit, the age of, not consent, but the age of, like, understanding and having respect for weapons, that you get your first weapon. I would not have given this kid this rifle, though, because this rifle is a high-caliber hunting rifle. You usually start with something much smaller than this, like a Winchester 30-30 or something that's not going to blow your head off if you shoot yourself. This weapon, if you shoot yourself with this weapon, you're losing a fucking arm. This is a decent hunting rifle, right? But his uncle gifts it to him. His parents are looking at each other like they're crazy, and they're like, no, absolutely not. He is not old enough for this weapon. This is not okay. Thank you, but we're going to hold on to it, and we'll give it to him later. Clark doesn't like this at all. He's like, give it back to me. to his dad, who took the weapon away. And his dad's like, no. He's like, give it to me. And he slams his fist on the table. And when he slams his fist on the table, it's enough to make the table jump and the ground kind of rumble around everybody in the restaurant, because everybody in the restaurant turns and looks that way, like, what the fuck was
feels
that?
it, yeah.
You know?
Yeah, that's cursed, because he slams on the table and everybody, no, in the restaurant feels it. No?
They feel it and they hear it, and this is another time where I feel like the parents probably should have known something's going on. His behavior,
yeah, they did.
His behavior, and then just his sheer strength, because I don't think any grown man would have hit a table like that, and it wouldn't have done that, right?
Yeah, it's kind of because they do. No, because this is the part where where Jonathan Kent says, "Okay, it's over now. We're going home." No, you fucked up big time. We're leaving. Yeah. No, what I think probably any
parent, dude. If I was this little shit's dad and he did this, oh man, I would have been worse about it than he was, for sure. Like,
yeah, exactly. However, when they get home, because then they drive home. No, yes, of course. No. And then they drive home, and then they have a discussion. You see a discussion between Martha and John, and Martha's like, what the fuck is wrong with him? Yeah. He's never acted this way. No? This is also something that hints that you just had literally in a period from days where his entire character flips.
Yeah.
No? Because before the Skynet ASMR happened, no? He was just a normal kid, and they didn't see anything alarming about him. Yeah. No? But this is the point, where he starts to go full psycho.
Yeah. And the parents are they're a little taken back. Like you said, you get the scene when they come home after this and they're talking about it. And I think the dad also mentions at this point, well, he's not from this planet, or something along those lines. He's like, or is that later in the movie?
No, I think this is the part where Martha tells him that the night prior when he was sleepwalking, he was out in the barn. No? Then Jonathan turns around and said, did he find it? That's all he says. No?
Right. That's what it is. Yeah. Okay.
Uh-huh.
So, yeah, at this point in the movie, if you don't know the Superman story, you're still kind of wondering what the fuck is going on, right? But you can put two and two together if you know the story. So he's been trying to get to the ship that's in the barn, and they're discussing it along with his behavior. They know something's up, and they wonder if this has something to do with the ship and everything else. But they don't talk about that. She just tells him that, he was at the barn the other night sleepwalking. Next scene you get is the morning after. You get the feeling this kid is not real happy with his parents at all. So he's sitting there eating his breakfast, and he's not saying a fucking word to anybody. He's just sitting there staring at a wall, eating his breakfast. And his mom says something to him like, hey, it's time for you to get ready. He doesn't acknowledge his mom. His dad goes, hey, did you hear what your mom said to you? You need to get ready. And Clark still doesn't pay him any mind. He acts like he's in a daze, and he's just eating his breakfast. So his dad walks over to him, and you start to hear crunching sounds, like metal against metal almost. And you realize that Clark is chewing on his fork, like literally chewing on this fucking fork. His dad walks over and he says, hey, dude, I'm talking to you. What's going on? He doesn't acknowledge his dad. His dad kneels down, grabs his fist, which is like holding the fork in his mouth, and pulls his fist away to where it pulls the fork out of his mouth. And you look at the fork, and the fork is completely twisted and bent up, right? Like he, with his teeth, just completely destroyed this fork. So this is your next hint that this kid is not completely fucking normal and something's wrong, right? I think.
Yeah, but also when this happens, he snaps out of it like he's in some kind of trance again.
Yeah.
No? Yeah.
So you kind of get the feeling like it's not just certain moments where this thing is talking to him. This thing is talking to him more often, even though we don't hear it, and probably affecting the way that he's acting.
But also this is kind of thing where it's not really sure. But when it comes to why his powers are manifesting, if it is a direct connection with the ship or not, because at this point you don't hear the ASMR stuff going on.
Right.
It's just like he's in some kind of trance. So it's like it's kind of. I think you could discuss this for hours. What it's caused by.
Yeah.
What clearly is caused is his behavioral change. Yeah. That's clearly caused by the ship.
Right.
And that's just like I brought it up. It's a clear. I'm not sure if it's just me, but I'm pretty sure they took this from Dragon Ball Z because
have. I mean,
that's literally in Dragon Ball Z. That's the What?
James Gunn is definitely into this kind of thing, so I would imagine they probably lifted it from Dragon Ball Z, like you think, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
I like seeing fiction, especially good fiction, influence
Yeah.
fiction. Like you, if you wanted to write a story, and if you wanted to be haphazard about it, there's enough other material out there that you can cannibalize and use to make your story work. But I don't think James Gunn does that. I think he's the type of filmmaker that if he does stuff like that, he kind of gives a nod to it. And from everything that you're saying, he's giving a nod to Dragon Ball Z by doing this, right?
Obviously, just at least he didn't take it so far that Clark doesn't on full moon turn into King Kong,
right.
because that's what also happened.
So the parents, after this fork incident, there's kind of a. I think we got it the night before, but we didn't mention it when they were on the couch. She said, his behavior is strange. It's a little off. Maybe it's because he's coming of age. Maybe we should have the talk. Yeah. The fucking talk with him, right? The birds and the bees talk.
Yeah.
And Dad's like, fuck, really? Is it that time? She's like, yeah, you should probably have a talk with him. He's like, okay, well, I mean, we're going hunting later, so I'll talk to him about it when we go hunting later.
Mm-hmm.
So the next scene you get is him and his dad, and this is the most awkward fucking scene, dude. You gotta hope that this is not how your parents have the talk with you, right?
No.
Yeah.
No, I don't know. This is crazy. This is something that I also really never understood. I mean, I don't. I don't imagine how it can be this awkward about basically just talking this shit about your kid. I mean, I don't know if it's a specifically American thing, but I was taught about the bird and the bees when I was like 6, no?
Yeah.
Or whatever,
This is not,
and it was specifically because me and my sisters had questions, no?
Right.
And what we did, we came up and we asked my dad.
Okay.
This is like the only time. What? No, because this is like one of the only times my dad actually gave us a straight answer. Okay. No? Because it says, there's this thing that adults do. No? It's called sex.
Right. Yeah.
No? And, well, when a man and a woman have sex, sometimes the woman gets pregnant and has a baby. And I was like with my 6 years old, like, well, okay, cool, fine, makes sense,
no problem,
cool. Yeah, I sat back. I sat back down, started playing Super Mario, and I never had a question of it again until I actually started liking girls.
Which is why,
it's that fucking easy.
Yeah, which is why it makes a whole lot of sense to talk to kids about this stuff when they're really young, because young minds are very susceptible to understanding things better like that before they reach the age. Because when they reach the age, then it's extremely confusing. Kids will just take anything that you say as gospel, and they'll be like, oh, okay, that's how it is. No big deal, right? But to have this discussion with your kid when he's 12 years old is not typical American, Mike. This is not what you do. This is odd.
This is odd because of course. Because this is kind of the thing. This is what makes it insanely fucking stupid. Because for one, he's manifesting superpowers now. No? Secondly, his parents don't even know how his puberty is going to look like. I mean, they know he's a freaking alien. They have no fucking idea what's going to happen to him. No?
Yeah.
And his father is basically like, with you're coming to age, and there are certain urges you might feel. I mean, towards girls. I just want to let you know, it's okay if you just give in to those urges. And I'm like,
yeah. It's not
what
smart.
The fuck?
It's not smart. It's not smart.
I mean, no, this is.
Go ahead.
I mean, obviously, it's a catastrophe because you have like a kid that's clearly manifesting superpowers. Yeah. Is totally fucking confused, huh? And you tell him, just follow your urges.
Yes, right. Yeah. Not only that, but the what he's developing is a short temper and possible violence, and that's shown itself twice now, right? So this is the last thing you want to tell him. There could have been a million other ways to phrase it, but if you want to break it down, this scene right here gave that kid license to do whatever he was thinking about doing, because he is young enough to be like, well, if my dad says I should give in to my urges, then I guess that's what I'm going to do, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So this little girl, and we didn't mention this earlier, right? But there's a little girl in the school in the first scene when he got picked on by the kid behind him for talking about the bees too much. She leaned in and was like, "Hey, it's okay. You're smart, and smart kids get picked on." And there was a little bit of a glimmer in her eye, and he caught her eye too. And obviously, at that moment, you realize that he might actually like her a little bit, right? But that, him too.
Yeah.
But we never got to see anything that happened with that, right? So maybe he talked to her more, maybe he didn't, but he obviously likes the girl. Immediately after this discussion with his father, where his father gives him license to go ahead and act on the urges he has, we see the family going on a camping trip, right? And so they're setting up their tent. He's out there with his mom and his dad. They've got the tent set up, and then they go to bed. Right? Yeah. Next scene we get is it's nighttime, and the mother wakes up in the tent and realizes that Clark is missing. He's not there. And she's like, fuck, where'd he go? Cut to this little girl's bedroom from the beginning of the movie, right? And she's in her bed, and she notices that across the room, her laptop has come on, and there's a romantic song playing from the laptop, right? And she's like, what the fuck? She gets out of her bed, walks over to the laptop and closes it because obviously she didn't leave it open and she definitely didn't start the music, right? So she closes it and starts to walk back to her bed. And the only thing we see is her face. And then immediately from behind her, we see light again coming from behind her and the music starts again. And she turns around slowly and the laptop is open and on again with that music playing, right? And so she puts a couple of books on top of it after she closes it. She's extremely weirded out. Puts a couple of books on top of it, closes it, and is about to turn around and go to bed. And she looks at her window. The window's dark. There's nobody outside of the window. But then the curtains kind of blow a little bit, and you see Clark standing behind the curtains. This is a fucking creepy scene, dude. Like, he's just standing there. Like, he's not making a face or anything. He's just standing there watching her. Naturally, she screams and like bloody murder, and her mom walks in, and her mom's like, "What's going on?" And she's like, "Clark is in my window right now. He's in my window right over there." The mom's freaked out. She's like, "Okay, stand back." She kind of pushes her away, and then walks over to the window and pushes the curtains aside really quick, and nobody's there. But the little girl knows what she saw. She saw him in her bedroom, and obviously it was him opening her laptop, turning on the music. And maybe this is kind of his roundabout way of saying that he likes her, whatever. But, don't tell your kids to give in to their urges. Probably a bad idea.
Yeah, because I don't know. This is like something. This is the problem. The thing is, this is a confused. Typically, it's confused 12-year-old's thought of what romantic might be. Huh? And the thing is, this is it's insanely fucking creepy. Yeah. No? And the point is, this is something that obviously for normal people would not happen because a 12-year-old would not be able to somehow pull this shit off. No? If the computer is already turned off. But the thing is, it's insanely fucking creepy. So somebody that does this is in their mind twisted or extremely confused.
Yeah. Right.
No? Right. To think that this in any kind of a way is an okay way to tell somebody you like them. No? Right. So it's also when he was behind the curve. No? I kind of also, by the way he was breathing, no? Kind of gave the vibe that he was jerking off.
I noticed that, but I kind of put it out of my head because I was like, nah. But you're probably right. He was breathing a little bit deep. Yeah. There may have been some pocket play behind the curtain there for a little while. You're right. Yeah, I kind of put it out of my mind because to me, I'm like, that's fucking gross. 12-year-old kid, that's gross. Yeah. Whatever.
It is.
Anyway, next day, back at school, the mother goes to visit. Well, his mother goes to visit her sister, and her sister is the school guidance counselor. This is the same woman that we met earlier at his party, and it's his aunt, right? Yeah. But she's the school's guidance counselor. And she goes there and she starts talking to her, kind of explains a little bit of the weird behavior that's been going on. And basically her sister just says, hey, you know what? He's in puberty. Weird things happen. It's nothing to worry about. I see it all the time. No big deal. At the same time, Clark is at a table on his lunch wave, drawing frantically in his notebook. Right, the mom notices it.
Yeah.
And walks up behind him as he's drawing, and we kind of get a glimpse of what he's drawing. And what it is it's that same symbol, the B that's backwards with the other B, and he's drawing it. And then we realize that the two B's are his actual name, which his name is Brandon Breyer. That's the name this character is given in the show. And he's kind of written his name, Brandon Breyer, on either side of the drawing. So we know that that's what that symbol is. It's basically his name, his initials, right? And so when she says, "Hey, what you drawing?" he covers it up real quick and puts the notebook away, like he does not want her to see what he's drawing. We'll find out why later.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot more to this fucking notebook than just that.
Yeah.
So he hides it from her. She doesn't really think too much about it. Obviously, it's a little strange, but whatever. Next scene we get is that night. And on this night, his dad is working in the barn. It's late. I mean, he's a farmer. Farmers work late, right? So he's in the barn, and he hears something out back by their chicken coop, right? And so he gets his shotgun because if you know anything about Kansas, there are a lot of wolves, right? Like wolves are everywhere. So if you have a farm and you have chickens, you are constantly on the watch for wolves attacking your chicken coop or attacking anything else. Dad thinks it's a wolf, grabs his shotgun, and goes around the back of the barn to the chicken coop, where he then sees Clark standing there staring at the chickens, right? And there's
like a psycho.
Yeah, like a psycho, just standing there, right? And you also get a little bit of the sound of the voices talking to him, but obviously we're the only ones that can hear it, and Clark can hear it, but his dad can't hear it. And his dad's like, "What are you doing? What are you doing here?" And Clark turns around and he goes, "Nothing. Everything's fine," and turns around and walks back inside, right? Dad obviously thinks this is a little bit fucking weird, as I think anybody would.
Yeah.
Yeah. This kid's a little fucking psycho, man. This kid makes this movie for me because he is such a fucking creep. From his face to the way that he walks to the way that he acts, he's a little fucking psycho. And I don't know why his parents don't see it. He plays it to a T.
The thing is, you have to say the father is seeing.
Well, he does now.
No, the father is clearly straight up from this point on. No, yeah. I mean, the thing is, I'm going to be honest. I do think that you have a lot of parents that are pretty fucking blind. No, when it comes to this stuff, I know a lot of parents that just love their kids so much they will. You have the saying in Germany, no, love makes you blind.
We say the same thing.
No? Yeah. In the States, the same thing? Okay, good. No? Well, then, I mean, I do think that these parents love this kid so much that they're ignoring the red flags.
The signs,
No? And the father catches on to it early, no? Because at this point, no? That's when the father recognizes, okay, something is weird. No? Because everything else so far that was going on was, of course, weird shit, no? But but I would say it was nothing that would make a parent think somehow that their child is dangerous.
Yeah.
You know? So that's why I personally, if you even have like shit, I mean, thing is, of course, they know he's an alien, no? that is kind of the thing where I think, they should have hit the red flags. What happens better in the Superman comics? Because when shit like this happens, no? Jonathan and Martha Kent probably connected the dots. They're like, well, we found him in a spaceship, so duh.
Yeah. These parents. So you're right. The dad is kind of onto it. The mother is just completely oblivious to all of it. To her, this is just her little boy that she wanted so bad and couldn't have, and now she's got him, so she's willing to look the other way. And we find out later in the movie, too, she's willing to look away from a lot, right?
Exactly, yeah.
So we just saw Clark standing at the chicken cage. His dad asked him what he was doing, and he said nothing, and he went away, right? Next scene we get is his father is still in the barn, hears a crazy amount of noise, and walks back there again, probably fully expecting to see Brandon or Clark in front of the chicken cage or a wolf. But he walks back there, and now all the chickens are dead. Like, not just dead, but torn to pieces, right? There are chicken parts laying everywhere. There's dead chickens everywhere. There's feather and a lot of blood. There's a lot of blood here. So this kid didn't just murder the chickens. Like you would imagine maybe a kid that maybe could have been a psychopath. And you see kids that are psychopathic, which is why it's a good scene. You see kids that are psychopathic later. Their parents always come back and say, the signs weren't there. We just didn't see it. And then one of the parents goes, but there was that time that he murdered all those frogs. Or there was that time that he did X, Y, and Z, and it should have been very apparent to everyone at that point that the kid is a psychopath. But those kids don't do things like this. They would have gone into the chicken coop and maybe snapped the neck of a couple chickens and walked off. He literally had a bloodbath with these chickens. He destroyed them.
Yeah, not only that, also how he got into the chicken shed. He literally ripped the door off.
Yeah. We don't see that, but yeah, he does.
Yeah.
So the father goes out there and sees that and calls the mom to come out there. So she comes out. They're both standing there staring at the chickens. He's like, Clark did this. Clark did this. And she's like, oh, what are you talking about? He wouldn't do this. It was obviously a wolf. And the dad's like, no, he was just out here staring at this chicken coop about an hour ago in kind of a daze. And it wasn't right, so I know that he did this. And the mom was like, but the door's been ripped off? Like, she's like...
No, the dad says that. No, because the dad uses that as an argument because how could he have been a wolf? The door was fucking ripped off. A wolf is not going to rip the fucking door off.
Yeah. And she still, even after that, even though he says he obviously did this because the door's been ripped off, she still thinks it's a wolf. She's like, it's a wolf. It sucks. Let's go to bed.
Yeah.
He didn't do this, right? So the mom is in complete denial. I mean, all the signs are there that he did this, but the mom is in denial. Next scene you get is the next day at school again, and the PE teacher is doing a typical thing that they do with kids in America. Like, this is something that right around the age of puberty and right around about the time that they start playing organized sports, they do what's called a trust fall. And what you do is you get all the kids together, and you put one kid in the center of a circle of everybody else, and that kid is supposed to fall. He's supposed to keep his knees straight and his legs straight and just fall and depend on his classmates to grab him and not let him hit the ground, right? And so they're doing this. He says the whole reason for us doing this is so that you understand that you have to trust everyone else on the team and everyone else that is around you, that they're not going to let you fall. And so there's one kid standing in the middle of the circle. He tries to fall. The kids catch him and stand him back up. And this happens multiple times. And then they ask Clark to do it. Clark seems like a pretty normal, happy kid about this. He goes to the middle of the circle and starts to fall. And he's falling towards the girl that he likes, the girl whose room he visited the night before, right? Falling towards her.
Yeah.
And instead of her stopping him from falling, she puts her hands up and is like, nope. And Clark hits the ground. Not only does he hit the ground, but he smacks his head on the ground. Like hard. Bam. Yeah. The PE teacher's like, what the fuck? Why did you let him fall? You ruined the exercise. At least give him a hand up, right? Pick him up off the ground, right? And she's like, no, I'm not picking him up. PE teacher's like, no, you will do that or you're going to get a 0 for the class today. So she's like, okay. Yeah. She puts out her hand to pick him up. He grabs her hand. He's got a really fucking evil look on his face. Like at this point, he looks angry as shit. Mm-hmm. Grabs her hand and starts smashing her hand slowly and then breaks it. And you see this in graphic detail because you see her hand in his hand. And he squeezes it, you hear bones crunching, and then her wrist break. So he broke her hand, right?
Yeah. This is not only did he break her hand, I mean, like, the force he uses here, this is like, even if it heals, she's never going to be able to use this hand.
I mean...
Again. Because this is not bone breaking. He literally crushed at least multiple bones in her hand. So she is never going to use this hand again in her life, right?
I mean, she could get it stabilized and be able to have use of it later, but nowhere near like she would had it not been crushed, for sure. And the mother of this girl is obviously furious about it, and we get to see that in the scene.
Of course.
Because the school calls Clark's parents and calls the girl's parents, and her mom shows up, and Clark's parents show up, and there's a huge fight in the principal's office, right? The mom is like, he crushed my little girl's hand. He's a psycho. She starts calling him all these names. She calls him a sociopath. Kid's not in the room, but she's saying this to the parents, right? He's a sociopath.
Yeah, but you could
He's
probably
a
hear
little
that.
psycho. The kid is in the other room and definitely hears it because why not? He's probably got super hearing as well, right? Yeah.
Exactly.
Um,
Yeah.
so he's
Mhm.
listening to all this big fight. The mom is, of course, completely in denial about what has happened, just like everything else. And she stands up to her and says, "You know, there's got to be a reason for this. It was probably an accident." But and she attacks the mom. She's like, "If it makes you feel good to pick on a 12-year-old kid, then maybe you should go get yourself checked out." And then she says, "But by the way, I am sorry about what happened to your daughter." Right? She goes into the other room, picks up Clark, and says, "Okay, let's go home because they're suspending you for 2 days or whatever." Right? I think he's been suspended for 2 days
Yeah.
from school. Tough to say, man. But if this had happened at my school, and I think a lot of schools in America, they probably would have taken him out of school and put him into a secondary school. Like this behavior is not normal. Like kids who do stuff like this disappear.
No.
But then
No.
again, it's also really easy to believe that it was an accident because what 12-year-old kid could crush the hand of another person just by gripping her hand?
Exactly. That's it's unbelievable that he could do that extreme damage. Huh? So yeah.
I think they would have sent him away, but he's just suspended for a few
Yeah.
days, right? Next scene we get is his parents in their bedroom discussing what the hell is going on, why he's acting this way. This is where the dad says, I mean, he's obviously not human. He's not from here. We found him in a field, crashed in what seemed like a spacecraft. He's not from here. We're seeing things that are not from a normal kid, and we're going to have to figure out how to deal with this
Yeah.
together. So at least both parents are kind of on the same page.
Yeah, but the thing is, I think they have. This is where they have the fight where the father is like, "Okay, this is weird. Now he's hurting people. We have to do something about it."
Yeah.
No,
Right.
and I think this is where the mother says, "Oh no," or does this happen later on? No. Yeah, but I think what I have up happens later on. That's when the father comes and said, "He's not our kid. We found him in a fucking spaceship
yeah.
in the woods." Yeah, yeah. I'm not sure if this is
So
this point.
it is it's that point. He
Yeah.
says that at this point that like they acknowledge the fact that he's not from this planet, right? While they're having the argument in the other room, there's an interesting scene that happens, and it's kind of one of those that if you blink, you'll miss it. And I love this because only Superman fans are going to catch this. But the mom is going on the computer in the other room and starts looking up meteor showers that happened in Kansas in 2006, which is when the kid crash landed. But as she's going through the Google search, she's typing in Kansas meteor showers, but when she gets to MET, the Google bar starts giving her suggestions about what she's typing, and it says something about Kansas metropolis, which is the city that Superman's from, right? And it's there for a
Yeah,
second and it
yeah,
goes away, but it was a nice touch. I thought that was cool. So
yeah,
she's looking up
yeah.
meteor showers and if anything else, any other parents had anything, any other kids were found, anything like that. Um, but she can't find anything, right? At this exact same time, we hear the voices again that Clark is hearing. And he's in his bed and he hears the voices and he gets up out of his bed and starts walking for the barn again. He goes out of his window and starts walking for the barn. Cut back to his mom. She's still looking for any other type of meteor activity that happened, and she notices something about some of the meteors that came in on that night, and it shows on the screen that a lot of meteorites came from this way, and then a few came from this way, which would make no sense because there's nothing out here, right? So it's possible that he was one of the meteors that didn't come from the typical place where meteors come from. And like I said, that's also a blink and you'll miss it kind of thing. Cut back to Clark. He is in the barn now, and he's standing in front of the hatch where this shuttle is, and it's beaming red, and you hear nothing but the evil voices talking to him. He starts convulsing in front of the hatch. His mother then looks out the window and sees the red lights coming from the barn, right? So she immediately gets up and hauls ass to the barn too. When she gets out there, Clark has already ripped away the chain that's holding this hatch closed, has ripped open the hatch, and is hovering above the hatch. This is pretty fucking ominous scene, and it's really
Mhm.
cool. Like it doesn't
Yeah.
at this point it doesn't
Mhm.
feel like Superman anymore. It feels like something really evil, right? Almost
Mhm. Mhm.
I don't know, almost like Sam Raimi in a way. I like how dark it is. because he's hovering there like a deadite over
Yeah.
red lights.
Yeah.
His mom is behind him. She realizes what's going on. She starts running to him as he's hovering over this thing. His eyes are closed. He's doing something. It's almost like, I don't know. It's almost like he's getting some type of update from this thing, if that makes any sense, like a
Yeah.
download or something. She starts calling his name. He hears her, and the minute he hears her, he comes out of his trance and falls into the area where the spaceship is. On his way down, his hand hits the spaceship, and it cuts his hand, right? Now, one thing we didn't mention about that conversation that his parents were having earlier is that the dad says, he's not from this planet. He's probably not human. This kid has never broken a bone. He's never bled. He's never injured himself, right? Is one thing that they said. But when he falls down here and hits his hand on the ship, it cuts him. It makes him bleed, which tells us that the material that the ship is made out of is strong enough to hurt him. So, yeah, I mean,
well,
Superman,
typical Superman.
right? So if it's anything from Krypton, it probably would hurt him, whereas everything else on the Earth wouldn't. And there's a reason why they show us this. So he falls down, he hits the spaceship, he looks at his hand, and it's bleeding. He's really confused by this because this is the first time he's ever seen himself bleed, right? He's really distressed by this, obviously. I think anybody would be if they're bleeding for the first time in their entire fucking life. His mom jumps down in there with him, throws her arms around him, and is like, hey, everything's okay. Everything's going to be all right. No matter what happens, you're still my baby, blah, blah, blah. And then she fucks up. Like, she fucks up. This is her big mistake. Because this kid is in a different place in his head right now and is not feeling very good and doesn't trust anybody. And she tells him, we didn't adopt you. We did not adopt you. We found you in the field in that thing right there. The spaceship that he's sitting in front of. And instead of having the normal reaction that I think any kid would have, which is kind of wonder and being a little bit upset, he gets fucking furious. He gets pissed. He's like, you fucking lied to me. You lied to me. You told me I was adopted. I'm from a different fucking planet. Get the fuck away from me. He jumps out of the hatch and runs back into the house and starts throwing fucking everything around in the house that he can find. So vases, books, anything sitting on a shelf, he's throwing them across the room and screaming, you lied to me, you lied to me, you lied to me. Kid's pitching a major fucking temper tantrum. His dad is like, what the fuck is going on? What happened? Blah, blah, blah. The mom tries to explain it to him while they're talking. Clark runs outside, and it's pouring down rain right now, right? And he's standing in the rain, and this is a fucking super cool scene because the voices get louder and darker. Yeah. He's super fucking angry, and you see his face, which it's very dark outside, and it's pouring down rain. You see his face, and you see his eyes start to glow red. It's like, I don't know, man, these look like Sith eyes to me. Like really, really bright orange-red eyes. Yeah. And it's creepy as fuck. And then he screams, and when he screams, fucking laser beams shoot out of his eyes, just like Superman, right?
Yeah, his heat vision kicking in. But what's good about this is the evil voices. Shortly before that happens, you hear like the voices getting louder and louder because they're saying this to Kryptonian or whatever. And shortly before he screams and his heat vision comes out, you see him say the three words, "Take the world," and then he screams and heat vision.
So the whole time,
and this is the point where this is like also the last time in the movie you hear the Skynet ASMR. Because after this point, you don't hear it anymore. No? So it's clear that whatever this ship has been doing to them, this is like the final upload.
Yeah, that's what I got from it, too. It was trying to tell him something the entire time, and it was saying it in the language of the planet that he comes from. And we've seen him before kind of repeating what it said, right? And this time, he repeats it, and then his brain kind of translates it for him. Take the world. Take the world, and then he says it out loud.
Yeah,
and this cool scene, dude.
This scene specifically. It is a cool scene, but also this is the scene where actually made me believe they put this from Dragon Ball Z, because in Dragon Ball Z later on they find the ship that Goku arrived on Earth. No. And it was portraying picture of a full moon onto the sky, what later on caused Son Goku's sun to transform. But what's interesting about this, the same thing, a message was being broadcasted from Son Goku's ship saying, Kakarot, destroy the world.
Yeah.
Kakarot,
in that case,
destroy
this
the
was
world.
completely lifted from it. Has to be
Yeah.
completely lifted. I didn't know that, but if that's the case, they lifted it from this, or they lifted it from Dragon Ball Z and put it in this. Dude, that's cool. That's cool. I think I'm very happy with the fact I like all of James Gunn's stuff. There's not really anything he's done that I haven't liked. Like even Suicide Squad Part 2 was fucking fantastic, but he cannibalizes good stuff and kind of gives a nod to it. I'm happy he's in charge of DC right now, man. Like I'm excited. I'm excited to see what happens. Guy's a great storyteller.
Yeah.
So next scene we get is a really fucking cool scene. Probably one of my favorite scenes in the movie, honestly. We see the girl that he likes in her bedroom, and he basically comes through her window and goes to her and brings her flowers and says, "Hey, I'm sorry about your hand. But I just want you to know I'm sorry and I like you." This girl is scared to death, right? She's scared to death. The only thing
I guarantee you, he would have been having an entirely different conversation with this girl if this was the first thing he would have done.
Yeah. But at this point, I feel like he's kind of become exactly what this thing wants him to become. He's very clear in his head. And it's like he knows now. He knows stuff we don't know. Like the viewer doesn't know.
Of course.
He knows that his purpose now is to destroy this planet and take it, right? So I think so. I think so because we find out later, we see pictures in his book. And they're very clear. They're very clear about what his mission is. So yeah, he gives her the flowers. She's scared to death. The only thing that she can get out of her mouth is, "My mom does not want me to see you. My mom does not want you anywhere around me." And he says back to her, "I know, and I'm going to take care of that right now." Fucking little evil bastard. Like, she knows. She knows he's going to go kill his mom. She knows that. She has to know that. She's probably petrified. But guess what? That's exactly what the fuck he does. Next scene we get is her mom, and her mom is working late at a diner that she works at. It's obviously closed up. She's cleaning up leftover plates to take them back to the kitchen. She's cleaning the place up. She starts to hear kind of a weird sound, kind of like a rattling sound. Everything in the restaurant's rattling, almost like you would imagine an earthquake would be, right? And she goes out into the middle of the diner, and she looks up at a light that's on the ceiling, and the light is rattling like really, really hard. And she's like, "What the fuck is going on?" And it flickers, and then the light bulbs explode, right? What?
Something
Are you talking
happens
about
before that,
the
though.
symbols that he draws on the wall, on the windows?
Yeah, because before that, the lights start to flicker very fast, no? And after they flicker, you see all these symbols on the lights.
I thought that was after the light explodes.
I mean,
but okay, yeah.
No, it's self-explanatory how he did this. Because he's Superman. He's also probably as fast as the Flash at this point. No? Right. So when he was flickering the lights, he was just running back and forth and drawing it. Because this is what makes it super evil. Because at this point, he's not only wanting to kill her, he's doing psycho terror on her as well. Yeah. No? He likes to play with his victims before he kills them. And I mean, this is typical psychopathic behavior, right? Like you said, that's what makes this twice as terrifying. He could have just gone and killed her, but he's like a cat playing with a mouse before he kills it, right? So yeah, he draws the symbols on the outside of the glass to where it's the Brightburn symbol all over the place. That freaks her out. She looks up at the light. The light explodes. When the light explodes, we get a fucking cool, nasty, hard to watch scene because she gets a shard of glass directly into her eye, like right into her pupil, right? And she's kneeling on the ground, bleeding out of her eye, and she slowly reaches in and pulls this thing out of her eye. Mike, I don't know how you feel about like this kind of stuff in horror movies. There's certain things in horror films, most things I can stand. Like I can stand people being chopped up, I can stand people being tortured, but if you do anything with fingernails, right? Like if you put something underneath somebody's fingernails, like really badly, or you stab somebody in the eye, like that's like my cutoff point. I'm like, fuck, no. Yeah. Chrissy and me were watching this last night, and I had forgotten about this scene, and I think we both like turned away because this is
extremely well done. It's obviously CGI because there's no other way you could do it. But as she's pulling the glass out of her eye, you watch her eyeball kind of collapse on itself because she's basically having to pull parts of her eye out to get this glass out. And it's just like stomach churning. It's a cool scene. She pulls it out of her eye, and she's looking around, and you kind of get her view of the room. So lights are flickering, and one side of the screen is completely covered in blood because one eye is basically out. It's covered in blood. And so she's looking around. Lights are flickering. She gets a glimpse every once in a while of this character standing in front of her. But it's kind of like blink and you'll miss it. He's there and then he's not there. And he's there and then he's not there. And what it is kind of like a figure in a striped shirt with a cape on, right? Like a typical superhero cape. And then some type of mask over his face. And he appears and disappears and reappears the whole time the lights are flickering. She picks up a baseball bat that's behind the counter and starts swinging it wildly, trying to hit him, even though he's not going to get hit and he's not there because he's in one spot and he's in another. She realizes this is doing no good. So in a total panic, she runs for the freezer, like the freezer where they keep all the food in this diner. Goes inside and jams the door shut on the other side and tries to barricade herself inside of it. She does that. She's sitting there freezing, staring at the door, and then all of a sudden we get kind of like the Star Wars scene in the first Star Wars movie where the stormtroopers are coming through the ship and there's like a laser beam going down the door to cut it in half, right? And it's obviously his heat vision, right? So it's going down the center of the door and cutting it in half, and then the door gets ripped away and thrown all the way across the restaurant. And so she's standing there staring at this open door and nothing's there. And she's breathing really deeply. And then all of a sudden we see the character again and he flies in there and attacks her. We don't get to see what happens to her, but obviously he's attacked her, right? And she's probably dead, even though we don't get to see it, but she's probably dead. So he's taken out the mom, right? Next scene we get is in the kitchen the next morning. His parents are in there making breakfast, and he comes down, and they're like, "Oh, did you sleep good last night, Clark?" He's like, "Yeah, I slept great. Yeah, I slept great. No problem. Everything's wonderful. I just murdered a woman, but, I slept great." So then cut back to the diner, and the police are in the diner, obviously, because she's been missing, and they mention that. They're like, "Yeah, the family called. She hasn't been seen. This is where she works," so they go inside. Everything's destroyed inside the diner. Tables are flipped over. There's broken glass everywhere. They kind of look at the freezer and they notice that the freezer door has been ripped off and it's wide open. Everything's melting. The cop is the main cop, like the chief of police, is like, "I don't know what happened here." But he looks over at one of the windows and he notices that there's finger smudges on the window. And quite a few finger smudges. So he walks over and breathes his breath onto the glass, and when he does that, one of the symbols appears, one of the Brightburn symbols, and he realizes what the symbol is and kind of jots it down in his book, even though we don't see that, but he takes a kind of like a picture of the symbol, so he has it for later when he wants to come back to it. Next scene we get, the kid is in his aunt's office in the school, which his aunt, as I mentioned before, is the guidance counselor. Also a really creepy scene because you get it's very clear at this point that this kid doesn't give a fuck about anything. And it's a wonder to me why he even went to school, honestly.
Yeah, well, it's kind of because this is also the scene where it kind of is that to a certain degree, he's also trying to create an alias, no? Like his name Brandon Breyer, no? And whatever evil thing he wants to become. Because I do think that at this point he's doing it because to a certain degree he wants to sustain some part of a normal life, specifically because of his parents.
Okay.
No? So I do think at this time he's trying to create this secret identity thing for him. Because even when he murders the people, he's wearing his mask and cape. That is, by the way, one thing. So clearly, him simply creating that mask and the cape, pretty much towards the end, you're going to see what exactly this blanket and cape, what meaning it has.
You see, you know what, Mike? I never caught
clearly
what
shows
the mask and the cape has. I never caught it. So wait until that time and then explain it to me. But I had never noticed that there was any reason for this.
Okay. However, so it's clear at this point now that he's trying to establish a secret identity.
Yeah.
No, so to one degree, He still wants to stay as Brandon Breyer, but still wants to do all of this evil shit in this persona, for example. So there's something going on between that. No, that per se also hints towards the fact that he was not sent there basically to destroy the world, no, but to conquer it. Not whatever that means. That can mean different things. No, it could mean that he's supposed to wipe out humanity. No, so his species has all the resources for themselves. Could mean that he's supposed to enslave humanity. No, don't know at this point. But this is why he's basically still going to school, because I think he's trying to establish a secret identity.
Do you think
What
so?
makes
So
most
this
sense.
is one of the things that, at least the psychological part of all this, kind of got me wondering. The download that he took from the spaceship, the last one that we saw, it probably gave him some type of instruction, I would assume, on what to do next and how to do it. I mean, it would have to be. So, like we said, he's back at school now because he kind of wants to maintain a normal life, just kind of like you were saying earlier. While he's there, he goes to his aunt's office. Like I said, she's a guidance counselor. She explains to him, hey, this is kind of awkward because I'm your aunt, but I'm also your guidance counselor. So we're going to have to try to keep this as professional as possible. She says, at the same time, I want you to understand that I'm worried about you and I care about you as your aunt, and you have a unique opportunity right now to talk to me and explain to me what's going on so that I can make this work for you, so that it doesn't have to be as bad on you. Just explain to me what's going on and talk to me. Things could get worse if you don't talk to me about it.
She says specifically, we have to talk about that you hurt the other girl or whatever, and wants to know what was actually going on. And he's sitting there looking there. He doesn't really care that he hurt her. He's sitting there like, yeah, well, no, everything's fine. I just realized that I'm something different than everybody else. I'm superior. That's what he said. Yeah, he says like I just realized that I'm superior to everybody else. And then she's like says like, well, I mean, we have to talk about this because I have to take this to the sheriff. And she says I have to tell him something tomorrow, report on how you're acting, your behavior, and you should know I am going to tell this to the sheriff. I have to. I'm sorry. And then he really gets pissed, because then he looks like this psycho look at his aunt, and then he leaves the office.
After that exchange between him and his aunt at the school, we see his dad out at a bar hanging out with his uncle and a couple other friends, and they're playing pool, and they're talking about, hey, what's going on with your kid, whatever. The dad kind of shrugs it off and says, we'll figure it out. I don't really want to talk about it here. And his brother-in-law as well, you guys have a good night. I'm going to head home because my wife is waiting on me. He's obviously had a few beers and acting a little bit drunk, but this is the part, Mike, I can't like excuse my culture for doing the things that we do, but one thing in Germany I've noticed ever since I've been here, even when I was younger, if you have a beer or two beers, people are usually like, nope, you shouldn't be driving. Give me your keys.
Yeah, that's normal. That's normal.
Yeah, it's normal here. Like a lot of Americans are really put off by that. But you guys are doing it right. I'll be honest with you.
I mean,
you guys are doing it right.
We don't have a lot of accidents due to drink and drive.
Yeah.
Of course, the laws here are also extremely I would say strict, because even by law, the amount of alcohol percentage or promille you will have in your blood, for depending on your body weight, your size, or whatever, the limit by German law, you are allowed to have alcohol to have in your blood. By some people can already be over the limit with one beer in Germany.
Yep. That's correct. And if you get caught drinking and driving here,
your body. Your body size, your metabolism, have you ate something before? No, I mean, basically, if I would drink like one beer, I wouldn't have the amount of alcohol in my blood that it would come through a test. No, but I know for damn sure.
For you and me, we'll be fine. But somebody shorter than us,
we'll be fine after one. But I know specifically people, I had this tested, with friends of mine when we were at parties, no? Or one of my ex-girlfriends, no, that was quite smaller than me. If she drinks one beer, she's not wasted at all, no? But when she does an alcohol test, she's over the limit, no? And it's that for one reason, no? That Germans just a lot don't drive if they drink, no? And the other reason is just what is I would say, even bigger reason that leads to that behavior in Germany is just it's not socially acceptable. It is not socially acceptable for the most people to do that. If you're in a party somewhere and if you've drank like 1 or 2 beer, no, and maybe a shot, everybody will be like, yeah, okay, that's fine. No, but if you've drank like 3 beers or whatever, in Germany, everybody's getting like, no, what the fuck is wrong with you? Give me your fucking car keys.
Yeah, you
I
feel
don't care.
attacked. As an American living here, you feel attacked. It's like, dude, bro, what the fuck, man? Leave me alone. It's only 3 beers,
Yeah.
It took me a while to figure that out. But, I mean, quite honestly, I think Americans should take the German law and use that. Honestly, after 3 beers, drinking and driving, you probably should not be driving a car. Like, I'll say that now.
No.
Right? Not at all.
I
But
would say, I still say the opinion. I mean, I think it's even questionable after 1 beer. No, depending on however you are. That is something that you should know as a person. No, but I think 2 beers, in my opinion, still is the maximum. If you drink more than 2 beers, you shouldn't be driving a car.
yeah, and you're right. You're right. But in America, to tell someone, even when they're like, I do it now. I didn't used to do it when I was a kid, but even now, if I've noticed someone's had maybe 3 or 4 beers, depending on their size, like I can pretty much gauge it. I'll be like, hey man, you shouldn't be driving. I don't want to be that guy. And I'm not like trying to ruin your fun, but you shouldn't be driving. But that is not very American, Mike, at all. Like, we don't give a shit. If you want to drive after you've had 5 beers, we'll be like, hey man, should you be driving? And the exact same thing that happens in this movie happens everywhere. So we go, hey man, should you be driving? And the person's like, hey mom, I'm fine. And then they all laugh it off. And then you get in your car and drive home. That's normal, right? Not normal for Germany. It took me a while to figure that out. But that's what happens here. The dad looks at the uncle and says, hey, man, you've had quite a bit to drink. You shouldn't be driving. And the uncle's like, hey, mom, I'm fine. And gets in his car and drives away. And the only reason I bring that up is I'm reminded of how, after being here for so long, how that would never happen here for the most part. Like, people will hound you and tell you not to drive. But in the States, people don't give a fuck. So the uncle goes and gets in his car and drives. We cut back to his aunt, who is at home by herself because obviously her husband's out at the bar. She's kind of cleaning out the house, doing normal chores, having a glass of wine at the same time. Her lights start flickering, and this is a really cool scene. So she's in the laundry room, putting clothes in a basket, and there's a window behind her, and the lights start flickering and then eventually go out. And when the lights go out, you notice behind her in the window is a shadowy figure with red eyes, right? And it's the kid. It's Clark. But he's standing there in his cape and his mask with red eyes. She doesn't see it. She turns around, walks out, goes back to the couch because the power's gone out, sits down and waits, and the power comes back on.
Yeah.
When the power comes on, she gets a knock at the door, and she's like, who the fuck is this? It's late, whatever. No, it's not a knock at the door. She hears something outside. So she hears something outside in the yard, looks out the windows, doesn't see anything. The lights outside are flickering as well. And she's like, what the fuck is going on? Just weird stuff. Then she gets a knock at the door. She goes to the door, and it's her nephew. It's Clark. Clark's standing at the door, and he says, hey, that conversation we had today, I really would like to talk to you about that a little bit more, right? And she says, well, it's really, really late at night. And you should be at home. What are you doing here, like this late? He's like, no, I really want to talk to you about it. And she says, well, Clark, we can talk about it tomorrow morning at school. It's okay. This doesn't have to happen right now. We can talk about it tomorrow morning at school. And he's like, well, I don't know if I can do that, but I need to tell you, you cannot talk to the police about me. Do not talk to the police about me. Don't talk to the sheriff. That would be really bad for you. And she says, I'm not sure what you mean. He's like, don't talk to the police. And she's really fucking creeped out by this kid, as anybody would be right now. It's got a threatening tone, right?
Yeah, he's threatening her now. It's
He's
clearly
threatening
it
her.
even comes. I mean, he's probably not an analogy now that he's trying to threat her. Yeah.
Oh, he doesn't give a fuck. This kid is on zero fucks, man. He
Well,
doesn't care.
of course, he also knows nobody can stop him.
Right.
I mean,
That's the
yeah.
other thing. Like, he's only a split second from taking this to the next level, so he doesn't care. He threatens her and he says, "Okay, do what you got to do," and that's it, and walks away. And she's like, "What the fuck?" I just got threatened by my fucking nephew, my 12-year-old nephew. And then she goes outside after he's gone because the lights outside have still not come back on, and she's weirded out because now she feels very uncomfortable in her own house after what just happened. So she goes outside and she's trying to get the motion detector lights to work, and she can't get them to work. Obviously, he's shorted out the power somehow. So then she decides to text her husband because she's scared. So she texts him to try to figure out where he's at and if he's coming home. She says, "I'm going to bed," turning off the ringer. Good night. And at that moment in the background, you see that the kid is in the house. So he didn't go away. He's in the house standing behind her in the dark. And she goes to bed, looks at her phone one last time. I think she texts her husband one more time and then lays in the bed. The lights are also continue to flicker on and off the entire time. She lays down in the bed and the camera kind of tilts after she's laid down. And you see Brian or Clark in the house in his costume in her closet, right? And he's just hanging out in there. Next scene we get, her husband comes home and starts walking up the stairs, and I think he goes into the closet to hang up his jacket. Am I right? What's he doing in the closet? Because he goes in the closet. Okay, so he goes in the closet.
I'm not sure what he's doing in the closet. I also fully remember. I just remember him creeping through the house. Now, and I also have the opinion that he's just now starting to do. Either he's starting to do his psycho terror game that he does with his victims, no?
Yeah.
Or he's just still a little bit hesitant because it's his aunt.
This kid's just fucking being a creeper, dude.
I know.
It's just like he did with the woman. Like you said, he's just creeping around the house and kind of hiding in places. Because you see the uncle go into the bathroom and put toothpaste on his toothbrush and start brushing his teeth. And when he stands up, the camera pans up and you realize that Clark is hanging out in the shower on the wall like Spider-Man.
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah.
He's just like hanging out on the wall. Just creepy behavior. And then all of a sudden you hear like a whoosh, and then you see coats in the closet move because he ran from that spot where he was in the bathroom into the closet. The uncle notices this and goes into the closet to see what the fuck is going on, and Clark is just standing there in his costume looking weird. In the middle of the room with this costume on. The uncle turns on the light. He's like, "What the fuck are you doing here?" And he pulls the kid's mask off, like pulls his mask off. He's like, "What the fuck are you doing here?" Kid doesn't answer him. And he's like, "Okay, you don't want to talk to me? That's it. We're going to go talk to your parents." So he grabs him by the hand and starts walking him down the stairs and outside to the car. The kid is still not saying anything, right? He opens the car door.
No, he's not pissed. The only thing he said, when the uncle rips off his mask and he says, "Why are you doing in the middle of the night wearing this fucking creepy mask?" That's when Brian gets pissed. He says, "It's not creepy." And then,
that's right. He says it's not creepy. Yeah.
Then
So he's insulted now.
Yeah.
So he takes him outside to his truck and he opens the door on one side and says, "Get in." Like, he's angry. I would be too. Opens the door, says, "Get in," and then walks around to the driver's side, opens the driver's side door and looks through, realizes that the kid is not sitting in the car, and he's like, "Oh, what the fuck?" Goes around back to the other side to see what the kid is doing, and we don't see what happens. All we know is that we see the uncle fly backwards with like full force into the garage door.
Yeah, you see Brandon putting his mask back on, then he turns around, looks at him, and then he flies towards the door. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So basically he just threw his uncle across the room. This full-grown man throws him across the room into the garage door. The uncle gets up, scared to death now, as I think anybody would be, right? Because he just got thrown across the room by his nephew. Gets scared, jumps in the truck, and drives away as quick as he can, freaked out. And I think he's probably driving to the kid's parents' house, scared to death. So he's heading down the road. As he's driving, he notices out in the distance in the road, there's a figure hovering in the road. kind of like he did earlier, kind of like your typical Superman hovering there instead of standing. He's just like hovering in the middle of the road. He realizes it's Brandon, and basically like tries to reverse, right? He's like, fuck. He's freaked out, tries to reverse the car, and as he's reversing the car stops. So, and the wheels spin, right? So he's not able to reverse, and he doesn't know what's going on. The back of the car slowly gets lifted up with him in it, and we don't see Clark doing this. All you see is the terrified face of this uncle, which I think anybody'd be terrified. Lifts the car up to where the front of the car is facing the concrete, lifts it probably about 40 feet in the air, right? Gets the truck way up in the air and then drops it. And as he drops it, the truck comes down like a tin can and smashes against the concrete. Like basically flattens the front of the car all the way up to the cab. And it's kind of standing on its end and then rocks down and falls, I think. Or is it still up on its nose? It rolls over on its head.
It rolls over.
The truck
on,
rolls
on,
over
on
on its top, right?
Yeah. The truck. Yeah.
It rolls over on the top side. We get a glimpse of the uncle inside, and this is pretty fucked up scene, right?
Because
So
you see specifically when he drops the truck, when it hits the floor, that the uncle goes his mouth goes onto the steering wheel. The steering wheel just goes clearly through his entire jaw.
Yeah. It's pretty grody scene, right?
Yeah.
And so he's laying there in the truck while it's on its top, and his jaw is just hanging off his face. Like it's not even really there anymore. It's just kind of hanging on the skin. And he grabs it and he kind of pushes it back on, kind of out of shock, pushes it back on and covers his mouth.
Yeah.
And he's looking out the window, and Clark is standing there in his full costume. And Clark kind of ominously walks up to him and reaches his finger inside the cab to get some blood from his uncle, like, because he's got blood all over his face. Reaches in, grabs the blood, and then draws the symbol of Brightburn outside of the car, right? Draws it on the concrete, and then flies away, leaving his uncle to die inside the car. So this kid is straight up fucking murdering people now. Like, he doesn't give a shit. He's murdering family members, and if he's doing this to his uncle, who he obviously cared about, he has no qualms about killing anybody else in his family either. And this is where you get the kind of the thought, okay, it's over.
No.
I thought so. At
Not
this point, I was
entirely.
like, okay, now
No,
he's going to go kill his parents.
No, not really. No. Okay, eventually it was going to happen, of course, but this is not where it would snap because after this point, he didn't kill his aunt in the movie, by the way. No?
Yeah, I know.
And I still, you can always there's a scene that's going to happen on later that shows that even he's become this sort of psychopathical killer, he still has a certain emotional connection to his parents. Like those are the only two people at this point that he isn't going to harm. No? Because there is a scene later on that happens with his father, and this is like pretty, I would say, worse than any of the other people have done to him, and still Brandon doesn't kill him. He just walks out of the room. And
that's true.
Yeah. And it's just like, there are certain scenes that are going to happen later on where it says, at this point, this kid would have killed anybody else, but he doesn't kill these two. No?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I just figured, at least at this point, after he killed his uncle, I remember watching the movie the first time and thinking, well, if he did that, then he's on his way to kill his parents. But he doesn't do that. Yeah. You're right. He's got a connection to them. Yeah. So he goes back to his house, and the only thing he has on is his backpack and his pants. Like, his shirt is gone, right? We find out why a little bit later, but he walks in the house and he's not wearing a shirt, and he's got his shirt and everything that he was wearing kind of crumpled up in front of his chest. And his mom's like, where were you? His dad's like, where were you? What the fuck is going on? Why do you have your shirt off? Kid doesn't want to show anybody or doesn't want to explain anything. I forget the excuse that he gave them, but I think
he was playing soccer with friends or whatever, and he forgot the time.
Ah, right. That's what it was. So they let him go. They're like, okay, go to bed. We'll talk about this in the morning. So he goes upstairs and goes to bed. The parents also go upstairs and go to bed. We get kind of a cool dream sequence. I kind of like this part that they put in the movie, but the dad is laying in bed and he kind of is in and out of sleep, and he reaches over to his wife's side. She's not there in the bed. He has kind of a flicker of the first night that the ship crash landed on their field, and he kind of blinks in and out of that and wakes up, and then looks to his left, and on his left, the door that's normally there is gone, and there's this forest, right? And so he gets up and he walks out into the forest. And as he walks out there, he sees the ship as it's crashed. It's not in the place where it crashed originally, it's in the forest. So he walks out there and he sees his wife standing in front of the crashed craft holding a baby. And you kind of imagine that this is probably how it went down for the most part.
Yeah,
Like she
but
probably ran out there, rescued the baby from the wreck. He walked out. She is not feeling any type of weird feelings about this. Like she's just happy, right? And if you
baby, she has a
Yeah.
baby. Yeah.
she has a baby. And if you've known any parents that couldn't have kids, that gets to parents pretty fucking bad. Like parents that are unable to have their own children are a complete fucking wreck. And so the fact that this happened to them has just made her blind to everything, as it's made her blind to everything else that's happened so far. Like there's nothing that she sees that is wrong happening. She's just happy to have her little boy. And that's what this scene is. The dad is walking
is the
out. He
point.
sees, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, exactly.
This is the
Right.
point where I want to bring up the thing with his mask and his cape. No, do you remember?
Okay.
Do you know that at this point the baby she's holding is wrapped in a red blanket?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, and you see this blanket also on his bed before the first Skynet ASMR happening, and he
Okay.
made this cape in his mask out of the red blanket. No. That he was wrapped around in the ship where you could see his mom holding him. And the
No
reason why I
shit.
figured that pretty, because the
I
thing
didn't-
is,
I
that
didn't
is a
realize
thing
that.
in a lot of
Okay.
Superman stories. Yeah, because that's the thing in a lot of Superman stories where his cape came from. His cape was actually the baby blanket he was wrapped up in the spaceship, nah, where Kal-El was sent from Krypton to Earth. And when he
No
created
shit.
his first when Superman creates his first Superman suit, he was sitting there like, okay, what the fuck are we going to do or whatever? And then his Martha Kent, his mom said, well, this was the baby blanket. No, you were wrapped in when you came to Earth. No, and well, this would be used as a cape. And then they also, because it had the S on it, no, he wasn't sure what to put on his chest, and his mother was like, well, that looks cool. Let's just put it on your chest. And that is something that is in Superman's origin and a lot of Superman stories. Not in all of them, but in a lot of them. I mean, the most prominent one is
I never caught that origin story. Like so what you're telling me is the original blanket that he was wrapped in had an S on it on the cape. Okay, I didn't know that. I thought that was a symbol from his planet or something.
It is. No, it's a symbol from his family, the House of El. No, that's what the S is. And the symbol of the House of El is hope. That's the symbol of Jor-El's family. And of course, his first cape, at least from his first costume, was the baby blanket he was wrapped in. It's not done in every Superman origin story in the comics, but in a lot of them. The most prominent one is from the series The Adventures of Lois and Clark, where Dean Cain plays Superman.
Okay. That's cool that he brought that over. That's pretty
thing.
fucking neat. I did not catch that at all.
Yeah.
I didn't catch that. Okay. So in this vision, his father sees his wife holding the baby. It's wrapped in that red blanket, right? And that's probably why we got this scene. And he walks over to her and he's like freaked out. He's like, what are you doing? She looks up at him while she's holding the baby, and her eyes start bleeding, and there's blood coming from the baby all down her shirt. Everything about her is bleeding. And he reaches for the baby and pulls the fucking blanket back, and you see these red eyes of the baby, and then it blasts him with heat vision. And then he wakes up out of the dream, right? When he wakes up out of the dream, he's not really okay. Like he gets up, the mom and the kid are already downstairs, right? So he runs downstairs. No? Okay. Tell me, because I can't remember exactly what happens here.
No, what happens next is when he wakes up, they get a call. No? From the aunt. No?
Right. At the hospital. Right.
And then they're called to the emergency room, and of course the aunt is just, of course, totally fucking destroyed and crying because her husband just died. And then they found out what basically happened. because at this point the cops just assumed that it was a car accident. No, because I mean nobody's going to come up with the idea like a 12-year-old kid lifted a car 40 feet in the air. So
No, nobody's thinking anything weird about this except for the dad.
yeah. But at this point, it's kind of like comes out like, oh, you were with him. Did he have something to drink? And he was like, yeah, only like 3 beers or whatever. It's just like every German is shaking his head at this point, like no, he shouldn't have tried.
The typical German reaction, like, yeah, he jacked her good.
Yeah, yeah, but however, and then no, but everything was fine. Okay, so the thing that Kimza comes across, okay, he's drank too much and now he's dead or whatever. No, then it cuts back to the next morning. The parents come down, no, and this is like what shows how super fucking psycho the kid is now at this moment.
Yeah.
Because they're coming back in, Martha and Jonathan Kent, and they're like, yeah, Clark, we have to talk to you, and the father is in, and the mother is like, your uncle died last night, and he's sitting there eating his cereal like
bucket cereal, yeah.
like
He's like, yeah, okay. Yeah.
And then they just look at him shocked. He keeps eating, then he stops and is like, you guys are acting like I should cry or something, no? And then the entire big argument starts around them, and it starts to heat up very fast, that the father is also screaming at him or whatever, and then Clark wants to walk away, then Jonathan grabs his arm, is like, you're not doing this now, we're talking about this now, and screaming at him, and Brandon just pushes him back halfway through the room. Of course, Jonathan is a little fucking scared, and then Brandon just runs up the stairs. Now, this is crazy, because this is the point where you can see that Clark still has an emotional connection to his parents and would not harm them. You could come up with several theories why he's not harming them. There could also be something programmed into him that the people that raise him are probably the ones that are going to be spared for whatever going to happen to humanity. If they're going to be destroyed or enslaved or whatever, you can say maybe his species has said like, okay, these 3, we're going to spare them. I don't know. Or it just might be an emotional connection to them, because his father literally disciplined him and used physical force against him. Everybody else Clark has killed so far has done only a fraction of what Jonathan is now doing to Clark. And the only thing Brandon does is just pushes him back and tells him to go fuck off, and then runs up the stairs. So it's clear.
He does push him through a door. I mean, like, the door behind him smashes and splinters,
Yeah.
But yeah.
But this shows that he still has a emotional connection to his parents and doesn't want to harm them, because he would have brutally murdered anybody else that would have done this to him.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. I was thinking more along the lines of, I guess at this point, not necessarily emotional connection is why he didn't kill his father, but probably because he still wants to maintain the guise of a normal kid, just like Superman maintained the guise of Clark Kent for the longest time.
Probably,
right?
yeah.
So it didn't make sense for him to kill his father at all at this point. But you're right. He would have killed anybody else that would have done this to him. I know the look on this dad's face, right? When he flies back and smashes against the wall, and then he's like completely unsure what he should do at this point. Because if something like that happens to you, you want to come back and attack like with all your anger, but he knows he can't, because he just felt his kid push him through a fucking wall. So now he doesn't know what to do. And this is why we get the scene that comes later with them when they go hunting, right? But the dad is pretty much sure at this point that Clark is the one that killed his uncle, right? He knows it in his head and in his heart that Clark killed him. So once Clark goes away, he runs up to Clark's room and starts searching everywhere for the clothes that he brought home last night, right? The ones that he had crumpled up when he came in the door. He eventually finds them, and they're tucked behind the chest of drawers that are in Clark's room. He sees them, pulls them out, and he realizes that they're covered in blood, right? So now he doesn't have to think it anymore. Now he knows that Clark killed his brother, right? At this exact same time, Clark walks into the room after taking a shower. He has a towel around his waist and sees his dad in his room with something behind his back. And he's like, Dad, what are you doing? And his dad, quickly thinking as quick on his feet as he possibly could, is like, oh, nothing. I just wanted to tell you I'm sorry. I'm sorry for getting upset and reacting the way that I did downstairs, which is probably smart because it probably saved his fucking life doing that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, this is even if it wasn't a super psychotic serial killer, it's a smart thing to do. Now, if you have a situation like this, no, but yeah,
Yeah.
even
So,
if you would only screamed at him, it kind of like, of course, I mean, this is what a good father would do, even if he just screams at his kid. Later on, apologize. I'm sorry, I got upset and blah blah blah. So
yeah.
but yeah,
My problem with the whole thing though is the things that happen next. It doesn't seem like it's a very smart move what his father does after this, because I don't think we'll get to it when the time comes, but his father is not thinking clearly from here on out at all.
No, because just like I said, because this is the point where his father goes down. He shows the mother the bloody shirt of his uncle, and he says, "Here, look, Brandon killed him. He killed his uncle. He's been killing his people. We have to do something about it." He says, "How can you think this of our 12-year-old little boy?" And blah 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 and whatever. How can you think this of our son? And this is the point where I think where the father flips out, and screams at the mother, says, "He's not our son. We found him outside in the woods in a spaceship. He
says he's a fucking alien. He's like, he's a fucking alien.
He's a fucking alien. We found him out in the woods in a spaceship." Yeah. And I'm not entirely sure what happens exactly. Whatever, the parents get in a real big fight. Then later on, it calms down. And the father says, "Well, maybe I should just take Clark out to another camping trip so we can bond and figure everything out." No?
Right.
Exactly.
And that's the last thing we hear him say before we get to see what's going on with the police, because the police have their own investigation that's going on right now into the murders, right?
Yeah.
The main chief of police, the black chief of police, the one that was at the first murder that he did of the girl's mom, and he jotted down the symbol that he saw on the wall. He notices as he's going through files that symbol is also on the ground, on the concrete outside of the truck where his uncle was murdered, right? And so at this point, the cop talks to the other cop that's there, and he says, "You know what? I think we've got a murder, like a serial murder, because he's leaving this symbol whenever he kills someone." And so it was enough for him to put 2 and 2 together. And so now we know that the cops are also on his tail. They haven't put 2 and 2 together that it's the kid by any means yet, but they know that something is up.
No, kind of the sheriff has, because the father goes away with Brandon on this camping trip. You see, like, the mother saying bye to mother, have fun with her dad or whatever. And when they leave, the sheriff pulls up, to their house, and he says, like, where's Brandon? Or can I talk to him or whatever? And the mother is like, why? And then the sheriff is like, well, we've saw these symbols being shown at the deaths or whatever, and it's always ABB, And the sheriff says, well, as if in Brandon Breyer.
Brandon Breyer's, right.
Can I talk to Brandon? Yeah. And then the mother's like, no, not at all. And then the father says, okay. And then the sheriff leaves, because it's obvious how the sheriff came to this conclusion. All of these killings have been happening where Brandon was somehow involved. He left his initials that could on the scene. So the only question the sheriff probably has at this point is, how did a fucking 12-year-old kid manage to do this?
Right.
No?
Right.
But
you're right. You're right.
Yeah, the sheriff is. I think the sheriff is pretty spot on what's happening now. He just doesn't know how this is happening. But then the mother goes back into the house and is not sure, because this is where the mother really gets the hint where something is going wrong. Then it cuts back to Clark and his dad doing shit in the woods or whatever. And you see, like, Brandon looking on tracks or whatever for some animal, and then you see his father step back, loading the fucking weapon, the rifle gun, and it is like, this is the point where he said, I mean, as a viewer, you know it. But the thing is, Brandon or Clark has not really talked about his parents much. And they know he has some kind of superpowers, but they don't know that he's indestructible yet or whatsoever. So the thing is, they're not fully aware of how they can stop him or whatever. No? So in a way, it's kind of like as the viewer, you could say, you know what's going to happen. He's going to try to fucking shoot him, and nothing is going to happen because it's just a normal fucking gun. No.
Yeah.
So
Right.
yeah. The
My
father.
my only issue with that, and this is kind of what I mentioned earlier, is that yeah, as the viewer, you know what's going on, right? But at the same time,
Yeah.
this kid, as the father himself said, has never bled. He's never been wounded. Like, yeah, it's possible that he doesn't know to what extent this kid is indestructible, but he knows that the kid is probably not easily harmed. So, from his point of view, if he thinks that this kid has killed 2 people at this point, this is kind of a risky thing he's doing.
It is.
It's a risky thing. Risky for more than one reason. I mean, I assume because he's a hunter and he's kind of a, an outdoorsy guy, he's probably not going to miss, right? But if he did miss, he's fucked, right? And if the bullet hits the kid in the head and doesn't kill him, he's fucked. Either way. So this is a huge chance he's taken, right? And I'm not sure that I would have done this. If you have no prior knowledge of Superman, okay, but even still, I would not have tried this because this kid is extremely dangerous.
I mean, you would first try to figure out if there's a way to harm him.
For the sake of story, I'm willing to let it go,
Yeah. Because the father then shoots, no? And then the bullet hits Clark and it's just like, boom, a pap on his head.
Yeah, it's like he went. It's like that annoying thing that fathers do to their kids when their kids are acting up. They thump them in the head.
Yeah.
That's kind of the effect that this had,
Yeah.
Like the bullet just went, bounced off his head, and it didn't even bother Clark that much. Clark was like turned around and is like, shit, you just shot me, right? And then this is the father's demise. Like, this is the end of him. Like, he walks over to his father and kicks him. And when he kicks him, he flies back into the woods on his back. And then he walks over to his father, sits him up. His father's pleading with him the whole time. This is a rough watch, this part. Because, and this is the thing I'm saying about James Gunn, like, he spends a lot of time getting you to like this character. He spends a lot of time with character development, getting you to appreciate the characters, and you care about what happens to him. And the father is basically pleading with him not to kill him. And Clark basically just grabs him and heat visions his face all the way through his head. It's a cool scene. It's a cool scene.
Yeah.
Like you realize how now this kid is dangerous. Like he was dangerous before, but now he doesn't give a flying fuck about anything.
Yeah.
He realized the people that he had an emotional connection to, if he had an emotional connection to them, now want him dead. So now he doesn't give a fuck, right? So he's killed his father.
Now that emotional connection is gone now. Yeah.
Yeah. And to add insult to injury, in this entire scene, it cuts back and forth. So you see him shoot Clark in the head, and it doesn't do anything to him. At that moment, it cuts back to his mother, who is in his bedroom, who is frantic, trying to find anything that would hint to the fact that her son is dangerous, right? And so she's going through his room. She goes underneath his blanket or underneath his mattress, I think, and finds his notebook that he has. She opens up the notebook and man, like I had to go back and freeze frame this because some of the art's pretty cool. But he's been sketching in his notebook the chickens that he murdered. Like he sketched all that out. There's like a big bloody gory scene of the chickens. There's a picture that he drew of his uncle with his jaw detached in his car where he killed him. And then you get a picture of him above the earth, looking down at the earth, frying the earth with his x-ray vision, right? So now the mother understands this kid wants to destroy everything. Like he is dangerous as fuck, right? And then right after that, you get the scene with him frying his father's face off.
But also before he fries, he fries his father's face off. You see, like Brandon took around looking at his dad. First, he's shocked because of what happened.
Yes.
No? Then he realized that his father just tried to kill them, and then it goes from shock to disappointment to how it is when you feel like somebody loved one disappointed, then go back to his full psycho mode again. Then his father runs, and then he pulls off a little of his psycho games with his dad until he does what you just said. And then his mother calls Jonathan and is like, Jonathan, you're right. I just found his journal. He killed the girl's mother. He killed his uncle. You were right about everything. And then you just hear Brandon on the phone like, "Oh, hi, Mom." And then and then she's like, "Oh, Clark, where are you?" And then Clark on the other side and says, "I'm already at home, Mom." No?
Yeah.
And then you see like she's like, don't know what to do. Then you see him flying in the air, holding the
Cell phone,
smartphone,
yeah.
and then him just
Yeah.
crushing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's cool. Like he
And
at this point you kind of get the full weight of what's going on because you've seen the pictures that he's been drawing in his notebook. He just killed his father. You know for a fact that he is at that house to destroy everything and his mother. Like there's no doubt, right?
yeah,
And
because
you get
I
the
mean,
scene of him crushing
mean,
the cell phone. I fucking love it, dude. Brilliantly filmed.
I know because it's brilliantly filmed, and he possibly also had this planned at the time he killed his father, because it's clearly established that he's highly intelligent.
Yeah.
No, and he said if his father tried to kill him, he's probably sure his mother was in on it too. No, what was not really the case, but that would be a logical conclusion. No, so then he first was flying home, I guess, and when his mother called him, that confirmed it to him.
Right. And so his mother gets on the phone with the police immediately because she knows that he's there and he probably has ill will. So she calls, and at that point, you see something flying through the house. Like it flies through one side of the house and out the other, and then through one side of the house and out the other. Brandon is just like, he's molehilling this house. He's just flying through it until it's destroyed. The whole time his mom's on the phone trying to get the police. She does get the police because the chief of police is in his car right now. He gets her call. She says, Brandon is trying to kill me, right? So now the cop is on the way to her house. The next scene we get is her hiding underneath the kitchen counter, and the entire house is pretty much destroyed. There's holes in every wall. All the glass is broken. He's just been flying back and forth through this house. At that moment, the cops pull up, and when they pull up, you get a shot of the house. And I love the shot of this house because it just looks like fucking Swiss cheese, dude. It looks like Emmentaler, right? There's holes in it. One side of it is missing. Like there's electrical wires hanging out, just like, fizzing in the air and stuff. She's standing inside against the wall panicking, and you get the sense that she's actually scared to move because every time she moves, he flies past her. Like he goes through a wall and flies past her. So
Yeah,
he's
because
playing cat and mouse with his mom now,
Yeah.
She hears that the cop is at the door, which the door is wide open. She hears his voice. She runs to the front of the door, and this is a great scene. The cop runs to her. He's like, "Hey, we're here now. Everything's fine. You're going to be okay." And then he disappears because
Brandon just flies right into him, and
Yeah. And I have to. This is one of those things I wanted to bring up earlier, but I didn't. At what point did this movie come out and The Boys come out? The series. The Boys.
2000. This movie came out 2019.
Yeah. And The Boys came out shortly thereafter, right?
I think so, maybe. Let me check and see. Nah. I mean, this movie came out before the evil Superman has been totally dragged through the mud through like everything halfway superhero story. Nah. Let me see. Because I remember when this movie came out, the idea, of an evil Superman was pretty new at the time,
Yeah.
2019. It came out around the same time,
Okay.
Yeah, as
So-
The Boys.
so-
Yeah.
That doesn't shock me because Hollywood on the inside, entertainment business in general copies off of itself. And a lot of times they'll come out with a series or a movie that is doing the exact same thing that a movie that's coming out is doing at the same time because they try to feed off of whatever is new at the time. And even though The Boys was a comic book before this movie came out, I think they realized that James Gunn was doing an evil Superman movie, and we're like, we have to capitalize off of this. There's a comic book that's out that people like. It's called The Boys, and it's about evil superheroes. So let's do that. And I think this movie was the precursor to that series. And I'm going to be honest, this movie is way better than the entire Boys the Boys season. Like, so much better than that series completely.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, thing is, it's kind of weird because the thing is, The Boys is supposed to be funny. It's a parody. No, so this is not a parody. No. But the thing is, how should I say it? But the thing is, the evil Superman trope has been dragged through the mud through so much. No, I mean, it's just like.
But it hasn't really been put into film form or
to
series
the
form
point.
until these.
What?
It hasn't been put into movie form or series form until this movie came out and The Boys came out.
Exactly.
Right.
I mean, exactly. I mean, Brightburn came out before the evil Superman trope was just like exhausted. I mean, I did not really know that much of the evil Superman trope. I just knew it from the DC universe. Yeah, that's pretty much the evil Superman trope I known from. But and when it came to like series and movies, it was like Brightburn came out before The Boys. Came out a few months, I think, or whatever. But The Boys, what it was actually established Homelander, of course, as the evil Superman in live movies, action movies, or whatever. Then Invincible came out. Okay, and Invincible was original. You know, Invincible is way better than The Boys.
Yeah, I agree.
No?
Invincible's good.
It's
Invincible's
very good.
good.
Even though, of course, Invincible is, of course, just when it comes to the superpowers, they're all knockoffs of Marvel and DC heroes, of course. No, but
of course,
you could say that about pretty much every superhero. No, but if I look into that's crazy. Every superhero universe, no, it's crazy how many there are, and they all have their Superman knockoff. All of them.
Yeah.
No, and
Even
it's just
Marvel.
like.
Even Marvel.
Yeah,
Even Marvel does.
Marvel have multiple. No, I mean, Marvel has multiple Superman knockoffs. Multiple. They have like 4.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, and it's just like the evil Superman trope thing is to the point where I find it boring. You know, in other stories.
It is. But I mean, that's kind of the point I'm making. Like, you have this thing that you realize is kind of a pop culture thing to be doing at the time. Everybody's interested in it. And then normally, Mike, and you can back me up on this. Normally, there will be a movie that comes out with that trope. The first movie that uses that trope and does it, and it usually sucks. It sucks. Like, they do it wrong or they don't do it right. This movie did it right. They came out and they did it right. So at least somebody, if you were going to have somebody do it, The Boys was a parody, but they tried to do the same thing. Not as good as this. At least this came out first, and it's a fucking fantastic movie.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, what's crazy, it was a financial success. It was a very successful movie.
Yeah, it did really fucking well. But the reason I even brought up The Boys is this kill that we get right here where he smashes the police officer. That is the exact same kill that we get at the opening of The Boys when the guy runs through the main character's girlfriend.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? Like, So this cop is at the door, and all of a sudden he gets run through by this superhero who's going like, 300 miles per hour, and just explodes. Like, we get an explosion of blood and gore that trails out into the yard because he just disintegrated this cop. Right. Which causes the mom to scream and run across the room and freak out. And then the female cop that was with the sheriff comes in and tries to comfort her and gets on her radio and tries to call for backup. Clark immediately grabs her and starts smashing her through walls in the house. Like, he smashes her through the ceiling, he smashes her through the side of the house, and he just does that in a zigzag pattern until there's basically nothing left of her. And then he drops her on the ground in front of his mom. This kid is a fucking psycho, dude. Like, absolutely the worst kind. So now anyone that could have helped her is now dead. Everyone that could have helped her or saved her at this point is now dead. It's arguable that they could have done anything. They couldn't have done anything against this kid, right?
Yeah.
So the female cop that he just destroyed is laying on the ground, choking on her own blood in front of the mother. The mother's just sitting there panicking underneath the kitchen counter, of course. She looks to the right and realizes that Clark is hovering above the floor towards her because she can see his feet, and he's just hovering with his feet closer and closer to her. She's kind of cupping her mouth so that she doesn't give away where she is. She doesn't want to breathe too loud because she doesn't want him to realize she's there.
He jumps out of the window. Then he looks under the bed and she's not there.
Oh,
Because
that's
at this point, she's running towards the barn now. Because she was there when he injured himself
Right.
on the spaceship. She realizes the spaceship can hurt him or that material. So she runs towards the fucking barn as fast as she can, goes into where the spaceship is, and rips off a piece of glass from the spaceship. So she has like a fucking
Is it
knife.
glass or
I think
metal
it's some,
piece?
I think it could be metal, I think more.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
more. And then she looks back and she sees the other girl's mom tied up to there with all of her Stetsons taken out, with Brandon does some sick shit towards
Yeah.
her. No?
Yeah.
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 Then she runs out and Brandon is standing in front of her. And then she pulls off her speech like, oh, Brandon, even though after everything happening, you're still my blessing. I still love you and blah, 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 blah. And then
Yeah.
Brandon starts to calm down and like, oh, well, she still loves me. And then she hugs
Yeah.
him. And while she's hugging him, she pulls up the piece of metal and is going to stab him in the back. And then right when that, he notices and stops her hand. And she, of course, has a thing fall. And he just looks at her like pissed off, just grabs her and just takes off straight up into the air, straight through the barn. And you see
Yeah.
like Clark taking up his
Which should
mom,
have been enough
huh?
to kill her, honestly.
Yes, but she was even at that point still only halfway alive because the blood all over
Yeah.
her face when he shot through the
Yeah.
barn with her. And he just up to the clouds, he goes with her, and then he just drops her and lets her
Yeah.
smash on the floor.
Yeah.
No,
It's a fucking rough scene, dude, because
it's
like I was
oh,
saying,
yeah,
she's the
yeah,
only
rough.
character
Yeah.
that stuck with him and sided with him the whole movie, no matter what he did. And still at the end, I would
Yeah.
argue, even when she was about to stab him with the piece of the ship, still loved him and still cared about him and still thought that maybe they could work something out.
Yeah.
But realized she had to end it. And so she tried to stab him, like you said, and then he flew her up in the air and then dropped her. And it's a rough scene, dude, because you watch her fall and she's just, I don't know, it's pathetic. It's pathetic. Like every other human in this, from the part that he kills his father, every other human just seems completely fucking inferior to him. Completely. Like he overpowers everyone. He's completely overpowered.
Of course. I mean,
you know,
yeah.
for that reason alone, I would like a part 2 to this movie. I really would.
Yeah.
I would really
But-
like a part 2 to this movie.
The crazy thing is, this is where they see, because you see him just standing there looking, and an airplane flying direct towards him. No? And it's like,
Yeah.
clearly at the point, okay, he's going to destroy this fucking airplane as well. No? Then it cuts back to the next
Yeah.
morning. Like here, there was this airplane crash. So and so much people dead. You see on the Kent farm.
Yeah.
A wreck of the airplane and airplane seats and blood everywhere. No? And car cops and ambulance. And you just see Brandon sitting
dead
there.
bodies
Like
everywhere.
dead bodies everywhere.
Yeah.
And Brandon just sitting there like another Tuesday, eating a fucking cookie. No? And this is like, okay, of course, this is clearly also what, shows that he wants to establish a secret identity, because he took this plane and threw it down there to cover up everything he did. Why?
That's right. That's exactly what he did.
Yeah?
Yeah.
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 That's exactly. And it's like, God, this is okay. Now he gone very simply. This is about just fucking mass murder. He doesn't give a shit anymore. No.
No.
And this is pretty
No.
much the end of the movie.
That is the end. Yeah, you get
Yeah, what do you want to say?
Brightburn in big red letters right after you see him eating his cookie, and he's completely fine. Brandon's completely fine. That's why I kind of felt like this movie, as good as it was gonna get a sequel. And like you said, it's he wants to do a sequel, and I hope like hell he gets to, because I would love to know what happened.
I mean, because there's multiple things that are going to happen now, and kind of like a post-credit said it, that hints towards that. And these things that happen in like the post-credit scenes are why the most DC fans, are theorizing that this is Earth 3 of the DC universe. You see, like, news flash coming up, like this strange figures doing this and that, murdering people. Then you have a broadcasting scene of kind of like a Tucker Carlson figure, no? Talking about weird people with weird powers, this guy in the ocean doing this kind of stuff, this other real woman killing people with this rope. What's clearly hinting towards evil versions of the Justice League. You know?
Right.
So
Yeah.
yeah. So this is
I
this
kind of
is
hope
clearly
that they
where
do
the
it,
end.
man. I really do.
Yeah. Yeah, but who
I hope
knows
they
if
do
they're
it.
ever gonna
One,
do it.
because it's got, I don't know, like there's enough people that would see this. There's enough people that saw this first movie that would want to
Yeah.
see part two. It would do well. And I think as a fan, everybody wants that. So I hope that in the time that we're doing the podcast, we get to do Brightburn part two. That'd be great. Like, and anybody who hasn't
Yeah.
seen this movie, marketing for this film, Mike, was not great. Did you notice that?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It wasn't great, and I think that maybe led to a lot of people not seeing it, but they could have done better marketing, and it's a shame they didn't because the film's fucking fantastic.
It is.
Fucking
It's
great
great.
film.
Yeah.
Would you call it horror though?
But yeah. It's definitely a horror movie.
Yeah.
No?
Okay.
Yeah, it's definitely a horror movie. I wouldn't call this a superhero movie.
No, it's not super.
clearly
I would say an ultra violent film, but
yeah. I mean,
horror kind of implies like a monster or a slasher. But I guess if you want to put it that way, he kind of is a slash.
I mean, how? I mean, of course, it implies a monster. How is he not a monster in this movie?
You're right. He's a monster. Yeah.
He's a full-on monster. I mean, that's kind of the point. I mean, it's just how easy you could take Superman and turn him into a fucking monster. No, and it's just like, so this is not a superhero movie. This is not like somebody with some kind of supernatural powers helping people or using his power to good or whatever. That's what a superhero movie is.
Yeah.
The supervillains are always just in the story a kind of trope that is used to make the superhero appear not to appear too OP. That's what the supervillains are. I mean, technically, no?
Yeah.
But take those supervillains away, and like clearly somebody not necessarily only using their superpowers to commit crime, but to just do whatever the fuck they want. That is a monster. Yeah, so he is the monster.
It's definitely a horror film. The only reason I asked that is because I heard a lot of people argue that they didn't feel like this was a horror film. But for me, it's 100% a horror film.
Yes, it was. It was also marketed as a horror movie.
Was it? Huh. Okay.
Yeah, it was not. It was
I didn't
not
catch. I didn't catch a
marketed
bit
as-
of marketing for this.
No, it was not marketed or promoted as a superhero movie at all. It wasn't. No.
Okay.
This was straight up promoted as a horror movie. It was. The way they were pretty transparent when they said it says we're taking Superman and we're making it into a horror movie. That's pretty much what they. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
You can see it in the
That's
trailer
the
or
thing.
whatever.
The movie caught
This
me
was
off guard. Yeah. The movie caught me off guard because I didn't catch any marketing whatsoever. As a matter of fact, I think this one popped up on Plex when it was out, and I was like, oh, that looks interesting. I guess I'll watch it, and that's how I heard about it.
So you didn't know this was Superman turned into a horror movie?
No, well, not until I saw it. So, I mean, I think I was over here in Germany at the time, and I didn't have a TV because I don't have channels. I always stream everything, or I have my own like Plex. And when something hits Plex, I'm always like, oh, that's cool. I'll check that out. And that's how I found out about it. I didn't see any of the marketing, but it was apparent from the first few scenes that it was kind of a Superman-like story. And then I realized what it was, and I was like, oh, okay, this is cool. Yeah. But as far as the movie goes, this was probably my favorite movie of this year. Like the best movie that I saw this year that I really, really liked. And I remember telling people about it. Hey, if you haven't seen Brightburn, watch Brightburn. And like I said, it was a commercial success, but I don't feel like it got the hype that it should have, unfortunately.
No. I think it was overshadowed. I do think it was overshadowed by The Boys.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Yeah.
You're probably right.
Yeah.
Which sucks because The Boys is nowhere near the caliber that this was. I don't think, anyway.
Yeah.
Plus, The Boys is not really horror; it's a parody. like you said.
Yeah, the
But
Boys is a
I'd give
parody of
this thing. I'd give
superheroes
this
and
thing an 8 out of
satire.
10.
Me too. I would give it an 8 out
Yeah.
of 10. This movie.
And because of this movie alone, I am definitely down for James Gunn's Superman. Like totally.
Me too.
I think that movie's gonna be good, dude. I would be very shocked if we go see that movie and it's bad. Shocked.
I mean, we're gonna see it this Saturday. Matt. I mean, I already bought the tickets for everybody. And I'm hoping it's gonna be good, but I'm still not sure. You know, the thing is, I've not really seen anything super alarming to me that would tell me that, you know, it doesn't look good or whatever.
Yeah.
Nah? I've been following the entire new Superman movie thing for a long time since it was announced. And so far, just like I say, I mean, I like James Gunn movies, so I think he could actually do a cool thing here. Nah? I think from what I see already, they already nailed the casting. I mean, David Cornsworth as Superman, fantastic. Nah?
Yeah.
Nicholas Hoult as Lex Luthor, I would have never pictured that guy as Lex Luthor. Nah? But seeing him in the trailers, you're like, oh, I mean, he could really pull it off. He seems to be a fucking good Lex Luthor, no?
Yeah.
And Lois Lane, how should I save it? Green Lantern, Guy Gardner. I mean, even though how goofy he looks, they literally took that from the comics. There is a comics where he looks exactly like that, no? But a funny thing that I thought I saw an interview with Nicholas Hoult, no? That he originally auditioned to play as Superman. No?
Okay.
Nicholas Hoult, no? And he said this in an interview. He was like, he was in the audition, no? And he came out of it thinking like, yeah, you know, I have a good feeling. No, this could actually work out. He walks out to the office, saw David Cornsworth sitting there. Sunlight was just right in the middle of the sunlight. He said he looked at David Cornsworth, was like, fuck.
Yeah, that guy's definitely a perfect pick for Superman. I'll give him that.
But then I think it was something that he said like, you know, but whatever, not that bad. Now I'm Lex Luthor.
I'm down, dude. I can't wait to see it.
Me too. Yeah.
I hope everybody enjoyed this, and if you haven't seen the film, definitely check out Brightburn. Maybe if you catch this episode, watch this and then go see the new Superman film, because it might be fun to see the two back to back.
True. Yeah.
Well, I guess our next episode we'll probably spill the beans on how good Superman was as well, just to kind of, you know, spoil it for everybody just a little bit. But if we say a movie's good, guys, it's good. Okay, so if we come back and say Superman is good, you got to go see it. But definitely check out Brightburn.
Yeah. Great movie.
You got anything else you want to say about this film?
I could talk. I mean, it's Superman stuff. You know me, man. I could talk about this for hours.
I know. I could too. I actually.
I mean,
will probably end up watching this film again sometime this year.
Me too. Me probably too as well. I just like. How should I say it? Is there anything more I could say about this movie? Yes, and yes, but we don't want this podcast to be like 6 hours, so I think we should end it at this point.
Okay, I'm good with that, man. I'm good with that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So tune in next time for the next movie. I'm not sure which one we're doing, but it'll be a surprise. And did we tell everybody to drop us a like and check us out on YouTube
we
and
haven't done
Spotify yet? Because I always forget that part.
I usually do that in the beginning. Okay, so if you like this episode, don't forget to follow us on Spotify. And if you're watching it on YouTube, give us a like on this video, put a comment below, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel to receive notifications for all further videos. I have to figure out a way how to say that the same way every single episode, but what I'm doing.
I don't know. I might have to take a sign and write, "Hey, Mike, tell everybody about us," and put it down. That way you remember. The problem is, guys, and I know we bring this shit up all the time, but we're both extremely ADHD, and once we start talking about something we like, we forget about everything else. So I'm sure there's a couple episodes where we forgot to do that in the first place. So just understand that we're not completely right in the head, and we probably fuck things up sometime. So it's okay. Anyway, we'll see you guys for the next episode. Until then, I'm Matt.
Yeah. I might. Yeah.
We'll see you guys next time.
See you next time.
The blackest dies. The darkest side.